If someone in BC were to tell you things were going well, they'd be lying. Since an opening week win, the Leos have lost 5 straight, and Wally has seen enough. Jarius Jackson gets the quarterback call this week, but he could be in for a rough ride in Regina. Gang Green is coming off a loss to the Owls, and they'll be fired up to rebound in front of their 13th man. It's the Lions and the Riders next. It is Hall of Fame weekend in the Canadian Football League, and look who is headlining the class of 2010. Great class. That was Tracy Ham. There's Bob Cameron, longtime Winnipeg Blue Bomber, great punter. Here's one of the most popular riders ever, Narco, Don Narcisse. Darian Duran would have loved throwing the ball to that guy. Mr. Consistency, night in, night out. It is the Hall of Fame game to kick off Week 7 of the CFL. Hi, everybody. Dave Randorf along with Milt Stiegel and Matt Dunnigan and Chris Schultz. Boys, we had a big game coming up between the BC Lions and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but it is Hall of Fame week in the league. And, you know, for years, the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies have traditionally been held in Hamilton, the home of the Hall itself. Several years ago, they started moving it around a little bit, and it's been wildly successful. And this year, the province of Saskatchewan, for the first time, has the honor of hosting all the Hall of Fame induction festivities. The Hall of Fame game tonight in Regina, the induction dinner and ceremonies tomorrow night in Saskatoon. So it's a big week for the league, big week for the Hall, big week for the class of 2010, and a big game tonight. And we're going to talk about the game in a moment, but you know what? I want to go through some of these names because you guys played against all these guys, played with them. In fact, let's start. I'm going to give you the names, and you guys just give me some stories or memories. Bob Cameron, your longtime teammate in Winnipeg.
Bob Cameron, he was like my long-lost father that I never had. But Bob was something special. You know, when I first got to Winnipeg in '95, I first saw him, and I thought he was a coach. I'm like, what is this old man doing? Come to find out, he's one of the best punter, if not the best punter in the CFL. And he did so much for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Not only what he did on the field, but the fact that he was that coach that the coaches needed off the field. And I remember the game in 2000. It was actually my first playoff victory in Winnipeg in 2000. Bob had a big impact. Not what he did on the field, but there was the fact that he called for us to punt the ball instead of go for it on the last 2 minutes of that drive.
That's football intelligence. That's what Bob Cameron had. He just wasn't a punter. He just wasn't going out there doing his job. He was a football player. He understood the game from all different facets. He was another coach on the football field. That's what made him, I think, endeared him to his players. When I think of Bob Cameron, I think of Palomino, and I think of teammates, you know. Palomino? Serious, you know, come on. You know, I'm not lying to the fans. You know, I think Palomino in Winnipeg. Come on, anybody knows that? You've been there. But Bob Cameron is a football player. That's how I see him, Schultz, and I think it's a beautiful thing that he's going in.
He's a great punter, right, Dave?
That's how you rid of the Palomino, Schultz.
I've heard about it.
Tracy Ham. This guy could kill you with his arm and his legs. First quarterback ever to rush for 1,000 yards, Matty.
Yeah.
Former teammate of yours.
That's right. Damon and Al and I had the pleasure of breaking him in as a rookie. We used to put him up on a chalkboard all the time and drawing up the plays. And you know, he was thankful for that. In fact, we were together 2 weeks ago in Edmonton at the Jackie Parker Golf Classic and supporting that cause. And I tell you, Tracy Ham, and Damon and I still talk about those days together. And when he went to Baltimore, he simply lit it up. And Schultz, when he goes to Montreal, he just takes off, and he was a beast because he could do it with his legs and through the air.
With his legs, through the air, and also with his brain. He was a smart quarterback in everything he did.
Yeah, they called him Hambone because back in Georgia Southern, he ran that, you know, that option, that Hambone, and he tried to bring it up to the CFL. He did a little running, and he could pass the ball, but he was great. I hate playing against Tracy Ham.
Won 2 national championships down there at Georgia Southern doing the Hambone. He's still a legend down there.
Still a legend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Milt, I want to ask you about one of your colleagues, one of your brethren, brothers in arms, so to speak, a receiver for a long time with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Don Narcisse, who still holds the record for most consecutive games with a catch, 216 straight games with a catch. He was very popular in Regina. What you think?
He was great. He was great. And the thing I remember about him more than anything was that dance. I used to hate to see him do that dance. He scored a touchdown, and he'd turn around and look back at the DB and then walk away and look back again. I used to hate him see it, but he was special. 216 games straight with the reception.
Listen to him.
I didn't even get a chance to play in 216 games. This guy was a great receiver. He did great things, not only on the field, but he was also involved in his community off the field. And I love to see those things right there.
Wasn't a teammate of mine, but I can tell you, as an ex-quarterback in this league, I would have loved to have him in my huddle. You know, that's about the only thing I say is I would have loved being able to throw to Donald Narcisse like a lot of quarterbacks, Ken Austin, Tom Burgess had a chance to do.
I'll tell you what, sorry, David,
Yeah.
but that little technique of what he did after the touchdowns, that is the entertaining aspect of football that you love.
Schultz, I want to ask you about Alfred Payton, who sadly cannot make it. You were speaking to him today.
Yep.
Alfred Payton, one of the all-time great defensive linemen in league history, second all-time in sacks behind Grover Covington. You said one of the best.
He was a nightmare. I mean, he had polished pass rush technique. Greg Marshall, defensive coordinator for Hamlin Ticats, he was up there. Stu Laird, the president of the Players Association, he was up there. But Alfred Payton had the ability to use his hands and create an imbalance in your pass set as an offensive lineman that was second to none. There were certain times it was like blocking a bull, and there were other times it was like blocking the butterfly. And you know what was the hardest thing? Was blocking the butterfly, because the minute you put your hands on him, he'd wipe those hands off, which created an imbalance in your upper body. Then he'd make you look like a fool, and then I'd be thinking about it all night long. There were many times Alfred Payton helped me to lose some sleep.
Oh, I bet. And you too, Manny?
He's just a teammate of mine and loved him as a teammate because I tell you, he was special. He was one of the most pure football players I've ever been associated with. Squack would come in 15 minutes before the game, throw on his shoulder pads, wouldn't spat up, wouldn't put any tape on, go out there and wreak havoc on people. I'm telling you, it was amazing.
You told me that story, and Jock Climby, you know, tells me about it as well. He would just walk in, no tape.
Hey,
just
not
go
even
out there
a T-shirt, just
and
those pads
dominate.
over his skin and go out there and start balling.
And that's what's so frustrating. I was there 4.5 hours early getting ready to pass block him. He shows up in 5 minutes and he makes me look like a fool.
And he's second all-time in the league history in sacks behind Grover Covington. We should mention Joe Pastilli also being inducted into the Hall as well in the builder category. Mr. Pastilli involved in all levels of junior football in Quebec and at the national level with Football Canada for years and years, so congratulations to him as well. All the players that we mentioned tonight, all four of them won Grey Cup championships. Two of them played in a Grey Cup championship together. That would be Payton and Ham, the 1995 Baltimore Stallions. U.S. expansion only lasted 2 years in the Canadian Football League, but the Stallions certainly made their mark in those 2 years. Brian Williams now looks back on one of the most dominant teams this league has ever seen, and two players that played a large part in that.
Touchdown! They were one of the greatest expansion teams in pro sports history. In 2 years of existence, the Baltimore Stallions won 32 games, lost 10, and appeared in 2 Grey Cups. And although they didn't know it at the time, that second Grey Cup final would mark the last CFL game ever played by an American team. It was 1995, and for the first time ever, the Grey Cup would be decided in the city of Regina.
You arrive in Regina. I mean, the city's alive, but you're an American team. What was the reception?
Saskatchewan is probably the greatest football province in Canada. I can say that without hesitation. They do a fantastic job supporting the team, their knowledge of the game, and they knew what was at stake.
Tracy Ham and the Baltimore Stallions were trying to become the first American team to win a Grey Cup. They had a chance the previous year, but lost to the BC Lions on a last-second field goal.
We just thought we should have beat one in Vancouver. Our slogan that year was unfinished business.
Standing in their way this time were the Calgary Stampeders. Now, Baltimore started well with 2 big scores on special teams.
Chris Wright could take it to the end zone.
The first, a punt return touchdown. The second, a blocked punt recovered in the end zone.
Touchdown for Alvin Walton.
Calgary struggled with turnovers. And quarterback Doug Flutie had limited success thanks in large part to rush end Alfred Payton, who was a constant distraction all game.
When he was on the football field, he knew that we expected nothing but the best, and he gave it to us.
Just basically putting a lot of pressure on Doug basically the whole game. One particular play that he kept the ball, and I cocked my arm back to try to take his head off his shoulder, but he ducked. He was great at ducking. And he ducked and threw the ball, and I told him, I said, Doug, I tried to break your explicit neck.
As the game wore on, Tracy Ham took control, just as opposing coach Wally Buono had feared.
We felt that the single most important thing was for us to devise a scheme that we could take in Tracy Ham out of the game.
Guano's defensive line played contain on Ham, keeping him in the pocket to take away his greatest weapon, his ability to run.
And it backfired on him because he was able to sit back in that pocket at times for forever.
Ham was happy to oblige.
The game plan really was to play action and throw behind the linebackers.
Forced to beat Calgary with his arm, Ham did just that in the third quarter. After their lead had shrunk to 4 points, Ham went to the air for an impressive 92-yard drive that ended fittingly with one of his signature scrambles for a touchdown.
He'll run it in for the touchdown.
Calgary would never recover.
They celebrate as Grey Cup champions of 1995.
First American team, first time that the Grey Cup was going south of the border. To be a part of that was real special.
Tracy Ham was voted the game's most valuable player.
Tracy Ham was the most valuable player in that Grey Cup game. How important was that MVP award, do you think, to his legacy?
Oh, I think it's got to be one of the main things. I think quarterbacks are judged on their ability to get to the big game and win it. And when he did that, I think that solidified his role as a great quarterback in this league and a very deserving induction into the Hall of Fame.
But there would be no victory parade in Baltimore. CFL expansion in the U.S. died soon after that game. The Stallions, squeezed out of town by the NFL, eventually found a new home in Montreal.
Tracy, many consider that team the most talented in all of CFL history.
We were a good football team. At the end of the day, we were a good football. I have never been with a group of guys of that caliber in the CFL.
I haven't been around from the beginning of the CFL, so it'd be hard for me to make that comparison. But I would say the time that I was up there, that was the best team that I ever played on.
You know, when I think of the Baltimore Stallions, I think of every year that we are at Grey Cup, and without fail, you run into a small, passionate group of Stallion fans who still, to this day, travel to the Grey Cup year in, year out. They wear their Stallion hats and their Stallion fan club buttons. We see them all the time.
Joe Short, he's the kingpin of that whole group down there, and they still love the Canadian Football League. When I think of the Baltimore Stallions, I think of pain. You know, it was Alfred Payton, it was O.J. Brigance, and a defense that simply got after you, an offense that controlled the line of scrimmage with Pringle and Drummond and Tracy Ham, and it was just a nightmare. And, you know, Dave, you look back in the
Ham, Drummond, and Pringle.
Yeah,
all
most valuable player in the league in 1995. In fact, when you look at the 1995 CFL All-Star team, 33% of them were Baltimore Stallions.
Schulte, do you remember going to play against the Stallions?
Yes, I do. I ended my career in that stadium, Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. Same field as Johnny Unitas played on. That was a thrill for me.
Milt?
Yeah, I was part of that. You know, they had 13 victories in a row. I was number 11.
Nice.
in the first playoff game that season. So I'm part of history also, right?
Yeah, you know, they were a dominant team. You know, it must be said they did not have the import player. They had no ratios for them to deal with. Do not want to take one thing away from them at all. They were a very good team, that's for sure. We've got a big game tonight. The BC Lions and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, two Western rivals, both coming off of losses. The Riders have lost 2 of their last 3 to Calgary and then last week to Montreal. The BC Lions are 1-5. Wally Buono has never been 1-5 in his terrific coaching career, and he's made a change, Schulte. Jarius Jackson starting at quarterback.
Jarius Jackson is starting at quarterback, and it's a good change, and I think Paris Jackson and also G. Roy Simon have to be elated that he is starting. Here's the bottom line. Are they going to be able to block the defensive front of the Saskatchewan Roughriders long enough in order to give Jarius time? But you can also, if you don't block him, you can burn him. I think the key factor in this game are those one-on-one opportunities. Anytime Saskatchewan brings 1 or 2, that means you have 1 or 2 receivers in a one-on-one opportunity. The big play is everything for the BC Lions, but still easier said than done to make those big plays.
Jarius Jackson brings the ability, experience in order to beat that blitz, Schultz, and the different looks that Saskatchewan brings. And I know that this football team's excited about Jarius. Not that they didn't love Travis Luley, but he's young and he's doing some young mistakes for 2.5 weeks. And you know, he played well enough in the first half against Toronto to win, but I tell you, it's all about this kid tonight, and there's a lot of belief in him. Jarius Jackson is a leader. He's got a strong arm, can make any throw on the football field, and he's not not afraid to pull it down, whether his shoulder's 100% or not. This guy's a playmaker, and Saskatchewan's certainly aware of that.
Well, one person who's very happy to see Jarius Jackson in there is Superman, Roy Simon. You look at his last 3 games, he's really been struggling. He's had 11 catches for 97 yards and 0 touchdowns, but his last 3 games against Saskatchewan, he's really showed up. 18 catches, 445 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And they're going to need Superman to come up big tonight if they want to win this game. It's going to be a difficult task, but Jarius Jackson is a player who likes to throw it downfield, and Roy Simon is one of the best players who are going to get it. But Superman, he's going to need Batman, Robin, the Hulk, the Legion of Doom, everybody if they want to win the game this evening.
Now, let me ask you this one question. The psychology of a receiver, having a quarterback that is known for throwing the ball deep as opposed to a little 5-yard out. Now, if I'm a receiver, especially Roy Simon, who's a gazelle on the football field, that has to be an opportunity for him to shine.
Oh, yeah. Every receiver wants that quarterback that can throw it downfield and make that big play. So Roy is very happy.
This is the second time these two teams have met. They met in Vancouver in week number 2. Riders won that game 37-18. It was close to the half, and that was, by the way, the last time we saw Casey Printers on the field. He got hurt in that game, did not come up for the second half, and the Lions have been struggling ever since. There was huge news across the league earlier this week when Ticat owner Bob Young withdrew his support and up to $75 million worth of funding towards the construction of a new stadium. He wanted it on one location called the East Mountain site. Hamilton City Council voted for something closer to downtown, something called the West Harbor site. They ratified that vote today. The vote was 10-6 in favor of putting it downtown. Bob Young had already pulled a plug in the whole thing, and he's been pretty tight-lipped. He was on SportsCenter on the Toronto radio station earlier this week saying that he is not coming back to the table. We will have an interview with Ticat owner Bob Young on the future of the Ticats in Hamilton. A very troubling story for Ticat fans in Hamilton and right across the league. He will be in studio tomorrow night. Bob Young joining us here. But right now, we got ourselves a football game, the Hall of Fame game. The BC Lions set to take to the field against these guys. The Green Riders kickoff is next.
Thank you, David. It's the Canadian Football Hall of Fame game on Don Narcisse Day in Saskatchewan. The 1-5 Lions colliding with the 4-2 Roughriders. There are thunderstorms in the forecast, but so far, a sensational night for football on the prairie.
BC Lions started the season with Casey Printers. They went to the reliever and Travis Lulay for 3 games, and they're back to the bullpen. This is Jarius Jackson. He starts tonight and is 14-7 as a starter for the BC Lions. On the other sideline, Darian Durant, the starting quarterback. His bout with food poisoning is behind him. He's healthy and strong and feels good tonight.
Ken Miller's Riders 3-0 at home, trying to rebound from a 30-26 loss last week in Montreal. They started Wally Buono's 5-game losing streak, but Buono says the most important part of the Lions' schedule lies ahead. There's Giannis Davis, along with Andrew Harris. They drop back, and we're underway. Second meeting of the year between these two teams. Saskatchewan won 37-18 back in July as Davis brings it across the 25-yard line with penalty flags on the opening kickoff. Jarius Jackson 14-7 as the starting quarterback for the BC Lions. Darryl Barron in charge tonight.
Major foul, cut block. Saskatchewan, number 46. 15-yard penalty at the end of the play. First down.
It's Kai Stewart, reserve linebacker. So good field position for Jarius Jackson to start.
Kai Stewart gets on the roster, play a little special teams, and on this opening kickoff, he goes real low. You're not allowed to block or hit below the waist on the special teams.
Jarius played 11 minutes last week. And gets it into the hand of Roy Simon for catch number 800. Well, it may be fitting that on the Hall of Fame game, a future Hall of Famer makes the mark first here tonight.
400 yards for Roy Simon to start the season. There's his 800th career catch. 9th all time as he climbs up the list in both receptions and yardage in the Canadian Football League.
Now 61 yards short of 13,000 in his illustrious career. 2nd and 5. And Jackson pitching, and Paris Jackson went low, and what a terrific catch that is by Paris Jackson for a first down.
Paris Jackson seems to have his best success when he has Jarius Jackson at quarterback. Little timing out here. It wasn't a big window for Jarius Jackson to get the ball in there, and he does. But what a catch. Now, did he hang on as he hit the ground there? No challenge from Ken Miller.
Down to the hands of Jamel Robertson, and Robertson turns the corner, has room down the sidelines, and still going, and Marcus Adams hauls him down inside the 20. Remember, a week ago in Montreal, Saskatchewan allowed a touchdown on the Alouettes opening series, and that was just a 2-play drive.
BC Lions fans have been critical of the Lions' offensive play calling, saying that when they give the ball to Jamel Robertson, they usually do it between the tackles. Well, not this play. This play designed to take him wide and get the corner, and he does get the edge for a big game to get this game going for BC.
That's a 35-yard run by Robertson, who since week 2 has averaged 3.3 yards a carry. First down, Lions. And now Jarius Jackson, quarterback option, and read well, played well by the middle linebacker, the former Lion, Barron Simpson.
BC Lions offensively get John Hameister-Reese back in the lineup. He will go and play right tackle, and Dane Randolph will switch over to left tackle. Passmore's the new receiver in the receiving corps. Darius Passmore in for Derek Armstrong, who is released. And there's Dane Randolph at left tackle for Demaine Duckett, who is out of the lineup.
Starting lineups are brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona doing it right. Demaine Duckett took a couple of penalties last week that may have cost him the start. Couple for Robertson. 2nd and 8. Jackson in trouble and down. Jarrell Freeman gets to the quarterback. First sack of the year for Freeman, who came clean off the edge.
Yes, he did, working on John Hameister-Reese at right tackle. Changes on the offensive line cost the BC Lions early on, as you're going to see Freeman come right around the edge here. Number 67, Hameister-Reese supposed to step out and take him, just never really engages with Jarrell Freeman, and he gets home.
Drills the field goal from 32 yards out, and the Lions start with the field goal. Glimpse at the Canadian Hall of Fame. Ian Hamilton.
Greg Battle. Darren Flutie.
Our Canadian Football Hall of Fame game. And there's Dominic Dorsey and Stu Ford dropping deep. Lions scoring points on their opening possession for the first time this season. And Dorsey nailed as he gets to the 30-yard line.
Well, Wes Cates said last week's game against Montreal was his worst in 2010, but Wes Cates is on pace for his best season as a pro in the Canadian Football League, but he wants to have a bounce-back game. That was his assessment. There's the offensive line. Dan Goodspeed will be out at that tackle spot and be in charge of trying to corral Karan Williams of the BC Lions.
And there was an emphasis this week in preparation for Saskatchewan to start better than they have. Fake to Cates, and Darian Durant has Andy Fantuz, but incomplete. Stanley Franks there in coverage.
Defensively for the BC Lions, Aaron Hunt under the lineup. He's on the 9-game injured, so Montrell Kraft goes in at the defensive tackle position, and that's why Karan Williams, who played inside last week, is bumped back out to defensive end. Ryan Phillips playing on a bit of a sore ankle. He hurt his ankle last week against the Calgary Stampeders, but he stays in the lineup for this big game for BC here tonight. There's Karan Williams, who will move back outside the defensive end.
First sack as a Lion last week in the loss against Calgary. 2nd and 10. Durant looking deep, looking for Shea Rodriguez, and missed him by a stride. working against Dante Marsh. They're trying to get Priche Rodriguez more involved in this offense.
Yeah, in our conversation with Ken Miller, he said to us that he just wants to make Darian Durant a little more aware of Priche Rodriguez, that he is a very good and talented receiver and one that he can rely on and trust. That time, I think he just got caught looking a little bit. If he kept full stride out of that break, he might have had a chance. They want to get the ball more at 85.
So Eddie Johnson in his third game as the Rough Rider punter gets set to kick to Giannis Davis. Good boot. Davis from his 26. Flag down as Davis surges to the 35. Lions with the lead in the football when we return. Legal block called on J.R. LaRose. And that moves the football back to the BC 20-yard line. Second series for Jarius Jackson. 14-7 in his career as a starter. 1-3 against Saskatchewan. And that low throw incomplete. Intended for Paris Jackson.
Take a look at that Saskatchewan defense. Because of the injury to cornerback Donovan Alexander, 2 changes had to be made. First, Daniel Francis goes up and plays linebacker. It's the second straight start. He did start one early game in week 2. And Tad Cornegay goes from linebacker to that wide side corner position to replace Donovan Alexander, who the Riders think will be back after the break.
And in a passing situation, the defensive tackles go to the bench. Extra men in that secondary to support Tad Cornegay. 2nd and 10. And
let go.
And it's picked off. Lance Fraser. And Fraser, touchdown saving tackle by G-Roy Simon. Lance Fraser with his 3rd interception of the season.
Well, he played this the whole way, just basically sat on this road a couple of steps back to give Jarius Jackson the feeling that he was going to be a deep defender. And then when he steps up, he's going to jump it. Watch how he stays here. Now he's going to take 3 or 4 steps backward to sell that he's going deep, puts the brakes on, and shoots through that gap. And it's goodbye. See ya. Wouldn't want to be you.
6th interception of the year for the Rough Riders. And it sets up Saskatchewan 1st and goal at the BC line 3. Wes Cates to the goal line, touchdown. One play after the interception, the Rough Riders take the lead.
It's called sudden change, and as quick as you can score, the better for the team that gets the turnover. The Saskatchewan Rough Riders take that turnover, 1 play, punch it in the end zone. Good hard run by Wes Cates, and that just carries that momentum over.
Well, if he broke the plane, it wasn't by much. But it is a league-leading 7th touchdown. Extra point from Luka Kanji. Rough Riders have a 4-point lead.
See if Wes Cates did break that plane. He was very close. He kind of turned his body. Looked like he got that initial surge. Was very close there. Turned, and we lose the ball a little bit. The officials were right on the spot. And no challenge from Wally Buono, so it will be Wes Cates' league-leading 7th.
Hits the 500-yard mark in rushing. 6th touchdown on the ground. He has 1 as a receiver and a league-leading 7th on the season as Saskatchewan capitalizes on the first turnover of the game. There's Giannis Davis trying to kick it outside. He's got some room and steps out at the 45-yard line as we check in with Sarah Orleski.
Chris, another tough start for the Lions. It hasn't seemed to matter through 6 weeks who's been behind center. This offense has struggled. They are currently on pace for only 9 passing touchdowns. Last season, they had 27. Jarius Jackson is the third quarterback that they've used so far. When speaking with Wally Buono, he said that Casey Printers, who started this season as the starting quarterback, he is on track to be able to return after their bye week. When I asked him whether or not Printers would return to a starting role, he said they're just taking it 1 week at a time. You get the feeling that Jarius Jackson's play tonight can go a long way to determining that.
Last receiving touchdown by BC was by Jamel Robertson, the ball carrier there.
Yeah, it's interesting that the starter in Casey Printers, who started the season, Wally Buono saying that he's still evaluating now after the start that they got to the season. Winning one game in their first three, that against the Edmonton Eskimos. He'll be healthy after the break. Depends on how Jarius Jackson plays here tonight. He's an opportunity.
Double tight end set, second and short. Robertson with the cut back across midfield, breaks a tackle, and Robertson enjoying some success on the ground against this Rough Rider defense.
Well, this is completely different than the offensive game plan that we've seen from the Lions after 6 weeks. They are now attacking the perimeter with the run game, something they haven't shown a bunch of throughout the first 6 weeks of the season. And you can see all the linemen just sliding to one side. They're playing Justin Sorensen, the former first-round pick 2008 from Parksville, BC, out at tight end.
11 for Robertson. He gets it again on the pitch to the left side. Marcus Adams will help drag him down, but another good gain on first down for Jamel Robertson.
So you're back to that first drive, and this is Sorensen I'm talking about. He's going to get a key block, so they're loading up the right side of the formation, getting some big bodies out there to try and seal it. Now he's also going to get a nice block there from Emmanuel Arsenal, the receiver. This is the big play in the first drive for the Lions, and they're sticking with that right now.
Jamel Robertson had 24 yards rushing last week against Calgary. He has 62 yards in his first quarter. And now Giannis Davis in on second down, and a catch is made by the newcomer, Darius Passmore, at wide receiver as Derek Armstrong released this week, and the younger, faster Passmore gets his chance.
Little slant route here from Passmore, who's going to come off the back of G-Roy Simon, who's up front right on the line of scrimmage there, and just cut underneath him. But Derek Armstrong was, yardage-wise, the second receiver in the Lions list when he was released.
There's Davis, kicks it the other way. Giannis Davis in a foot race, and Chris McKenzie finally angles him out inside the 10.
Saskatchewan Roughriders currently ranked right around the middle of the pack defensively against the run, but it looks like the game plan for the BC Lions is the perimeter and it's the run game, whether it be Jamal Robertson or Giannis Davis, and I know Wally Buono would like to see more of him.
Well, it's first and goal. BC at the 7, the toss, left side. Robertson dragged down at the 5. Brent Hawkins, who had his breakout game against the Lions in July with the tackle.
They have to rally to that play. You know, there's been a lot of criticism over the last 2 or 3 weeks sent in the direction of offensive coordinator Jacques Chapdelaine, talking about the fact that he's not using too much imagination, not enough, and not involving Jamal Robertson on a team that has struggled in the area of protection for the quarterback. Well, he's changed that up here tonight, and the run game is prominent.
This is a 6-play drive so far with 6 running plays, and now second and goal from the 5. Out of the bunch formation. Into the end zone, and that's overthrown. Simon was tangled up with Chris McKenzie, and it falls incomplete.
Yeah, a little hand fighting between both players, and both G-Roy Simon, he's going to discuss it, but not a big argument here. You can see Simon in the middle of your screen. Goes on Chris McKenzie, and the officials will allow you to hand fight. And that's what that's called. Just McKenzie, the defensive halfback, hand fighting a little bit with Simon, and both players, the defensive back and receiver, in that case would tell you that's the way they want it. No flags on that. Let us decide the outcome.
Simon's only 2 touchdowns of the year have come in the game against Saskatchewan, but for the second time, Paul McCallum called upon here in this opening quarter. Short field goal attempt is driven through. And now it's a 1-point game at Mosaic. Tomorrow night, Wendy's Friday Night Football here on TSN. Hamilton and the Blue Bombers in Winnipeg. Live coverage at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. And at halftime, Dave Randorf speaks with Ticat owner Bob Young. Interesting week.
Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough to follow. Consider the municipal government there maybe pushing that team out of the city.
We'll see if Bob Young can shed any more light on the Ticat situation tomorrow, as well as a pretty important game between those two. 2 and 4 teams who are sick of each other. A couple of field goals after trips to the red zone for the Lions. And Dominic Dorsey trying to get untracked. Doesn't reach the 30-yard line. That's been an area of concern for Saskatchewan.
Darian Durant over the last few weeks has been struggling with food poisoning and went and played after just a couple of meals in the entire work week against the Montreal Alouettes a week ago. Also has a bit of a thumb injury on his passing hand. He says that both are fine now. He feels a lot better. He's doing regular meals and his thumb is strong. Ken Miller looking for more accuracy from his quarterback, even though he threw for over 400 against Montreal.
Look out when he gets healthy.
Yeah.
Fake to Cates. There's Rodriguez. Dante Marsh stuck with him, and Joe Henderson will punish the former Ticat wideout.
You mentioned that they'd like to get the ball to Precier Rodriguez in the last couple of games. Rodriguez is always the wide receiver and often to the short side of the field. 1 catch per game in the last 2. We've gone to him a couple times early on here tonight.
Best game of the season was a 5-catch effort against the Lions. 6 for Rodriguez, 2nd and 4. Short drop, Rob Bag has the catch and the first down. And straight out on Davis Sanchez as he steps out at the 49.
Sanchez is real unhappy with Stanley Franks, the halfback inside, as they discussed where Franks needs to be on that play. Zone defense, and Rob Bagg is just going to sit on the outside. And what Sanchez, number 2 in the right corner of your screen, is trying to tell him, and you can see Franks isn't even sure what the defensive call is. So Bagg takes advantage. He's in that open area, picks up a first down.
Rob Bagg 20th in receiving, one of 4 Saskatchewan receivers in the top 20. First down looks one way, and now Bagg underneath at a short gain, maybe a yard, as he was at the 50 and then nailed by Corey Banks and Stanley Franks.
A tremendous Canadian receiving core, and Precier Rodriguez and Weston Dressler sprinkled in. But when you look at Andy Fantus and the top Canadian receivers in the CFL, Andy Fantus on pace for his first 1,000-yard season.
There's Chris Getzlaff at 2nd and 8. Time running out on Durant. Teron Williams in pursuit. There's a sign that Darian Durant feels better as he runs for a first down.
That's one thing he said, that he felt like he was throwing the ball well. He attempted over 60 throws against Montreal, and we talked about the 400 yards, but he said he was a little reluctant to run, especially quarterback draw, but a little reluctant to scramble as well because he just didn't feel like he had the strength to do it. And you're right, you could see that he does tonight.
Number 9 in rushing coming into this game. On a first down rump of 10 yards into Lion territory at the BC 49. Off the edge, Corey Banks, and he'll toss down Darian Durant.
Good controlled rush by Corey Banks. And talking to Durant yesterday at the walkthrough practice, he said he's got to know where number 24 for the BC Lions is at all times. He's got to spot him because sometimes he'll come and sometimes he'll drop off. Well, this time he came on the blitz, and watch how controlled he is. Doesn't want to run by Darian Durant. He's a good runner, so it's a good open field tackle from Corey Banks.
And Durant did well to hold on to the football. Loss of 7 on the 4th sack of the season for Corey Banks. So 2nd and 17, 3-man rush. And a flag underneath Andy twos would have the first down. Looks like it's coming back.
Holding, Saskatchewan, number 64. 10-yard penalty, repeat second down.
That's the right tackle, Dan Goodspeed.
Yeah, he's working on Brent Johnson on the play. It looked like his hands and positioning was pretty good to start with. But big 64 here at right tackle. He does start to push the shoulder pads of Brent Johnson down towards the ground, and he grabs the outside part of the jersey, and that's why the flag is called or thrown.
Well, they almost converted on 2nd and 17. What do you got? 2nd and 27. Again, a three-man rush. Rob Bagg underneath. Davis Sanchez steps up, and Bagg will be forced out near midfield. Stanley Franks jostling with Bagg at the Rough Rider bench.
And a couple of those, Rob Bagg and Davis Sanchez got into it. That earlier throw, and then that time Bagg involved again. But the Saskatchewan Roughriders will have to punt a couple of that penalty. Took a first down off the board.
So Eddie Johnson in. Off the side of his foot. And the ball on the carpet. Who's got it? Looks like the Lions got back on it after it was misplayed by Andrew Harris. And Harris gets it back.
Andrew Harris, trouble trying to track that one down from the get-go. He went way to his left, and then like he misjudged it completely, and was it Giannis Davis who recovers that, bails out his fellow returner.
Boy, the Rough Riders had a shot at that football, but the Lions have it. First down at their 22. And Arsenault, well read by Brent Hawkins. And a late flag at the end of the play.
You see what the flag is, but plays like that, when you're taking a receiver and you're running him across the formation, any type of defensive line penetration will cause you problems in that kind of play. And that time, saw Brent Hawkins get that penetration.
There's no infraction on the play. Second down.
Third rush of the year for Arsenault, and Hawkins comes up with another big play.
Arsenault's coming in this direction, so you need time and you need to establish a line of scrimmage to have success on a play like that. If you get penetration defensively, you're in big, big trouble. Brent Hawkins, who now has 2 sacks against the BC Lions in that big play, a tackle for a loss.
Into the final minute of this opening quarter, it's 2nd and 13, big pressure, and they screen it off, and it's handed off to Robertson. Flag on the play as that ball was caught by Dean Valley, the left guard, and he hands it off to Jamal Robertson. But an illegal, ineligible receiver.
Yeah. Well, you don't see this very often, but I'm not sure what was going through the mind of Dean Valley, because you can guess. I'll tell you one
Ineligible
thing.
receiver, BC, number 54. Penalties half the distance to the goal. Repeat second down.
I can tell you one thing, Dean Valley is not the intended receiver. There's Dean Valley there. The intended receiver is Jamal Robertson, but they end up side by side. But the question here is, what is Dean Valley thinking as the ball's traveling? Yeah, I got it. Well, wait a minute. I'm not supposed to catch it. You take it.
Wow. Well, if that's an audition for tight end, I'm not sure it worked. From his goal line, pass skip, one hop to Arsenault, and it'll be third down.
Well, you know, it's something that I don't think I've seen in the 15 years in the booth, of an offensive lineman pulling on a screen and then catching the football and handing it off to the running back. But it puts the Lions in such a big hole now. Wally Buono is looking at giving up a safety, pretty much has to. And that was a play that would have generated a first down. So it
There's a
kind
guy
of fun to see and funny to see, but it put the Lions in a hole.
Guy trying to do too much, and when you're struggling, they emphasize just do your own job. Well, they're going to kick it out of there. And a pretty good boot by McCallum. Dorsey from his 51. It's across midfield and down to the BC 51, but that penalty puts the Lions in a real field position dilemma.
Well, great confidence from Wally Buono for Paul McCallum, his punter, who had a 41.6-yard average coming in, but McCallum gets a good kick there, and I love the decision because I like when teams will punt it out of their end zone and have a little faith in their defense. Go out there and get a 2-and-out and keep Saskatchewan away from field goal range. I love when coaches make the decision. Wally Buono made it there. That's why the rule change went in last year.
So it remains a one-point game here on what could be the final play of this first quarter. Wes Cates spilled at the 48, and we'll get one more offensive play in. Steve Williams in on the tackle. Wes Cates, part of the #1 rated rushing offense in the league. In fact, the Roughriders lead in 12 different categories. Top rushing team, top passing team. And flags fly, and Anthony Reddick tried to time up the blitz and jump the gun.
Ron Williams reminding him of the importance of this game.
Offside, BC, number 26. 5-yard penalty remains, second down.
So now it's 2nd and 2.
Anthony Reddick getting a lot more playing time as this season progresses because he has made some big plays, has an interception, has a couple of sacks on this season. But a little anxious there, and it basically puts the Riders in field goal range. They're very close.
So the penalties continue to haunt. Cates, Ron Williams. Cates without a helmet has the first down.
Oh, you gotta love that. Didn't matter to him.
End of one quarter. Bet Mosaic. Our first quarter numbers are brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
I know Lions fans are excited to see the BC Lions get the running game going. Over 60 yards in one quarter for Jamal Robertson.
Well, it is the Hall of Fame game, and we are thrilled to welcome Tracy Ham to the Hall of Fame, the man who started in Edmonton. Boy, they had Dunnigan, Allen, and Ham at the same time, and well, we've reflected on the '95 Grey Cup and a touchdown run here at then Taylor Field, and finished up with those great teams in Montreal, and the Hall of Fame certainly looks good on you.
Yeah, it does look good. I gotta admit it. Look good after all those years. I finally put a jacket on and it looked good on.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I want to talk about that '95 Grey Cup championship team and what kind of season that was for you guys.
Well, it was a pretty magical season. We had just come from Vancouver the previous year getting beat by the BC Lions, and then we came back here because we felt like we had unfinished business to do. And so we really honed in on what we wanted to do as players and as our team continue to get better each year. So we felt good about it.
First down play for Durant, scrambling, running, taking off, and he's brought down by Joe Henderson. Flag down in the Lions secondary. I thought Suter's first question would be about the '89 Western Final. Well, I'm glad it wasn't.
Glenn has beat me up enough on that one, and he didn't have to say a word.
Hey, nice to see your family here. Who's all joining you for this?
Well, my wife is joining me, Valerie. My two sons are up here in the booth, Tracy and Caleb. My oldest brother, Willie Lee Ham. My middle brother, Donald. And then I have some friends from college I play with, and Craig Ellis is here as well.
Greatest memory from your career?
Wow, man, there's so many, Glenn, that it's hard to pick one, but you got to go. I thought the MVP year was a great year in '89, but I also thought the '95 championship was just a great effort by a team that finished business that they had unfinished the previous year.
Got one more for you, but after the face mask penalty, it's the Roughriders with another first down. They hand it off to Cates straight ahead, and he gets down to the 10. It's not one of the reasons you're in the Hall of Fame, but you were a mentor for a future Hall of Famer in Anthony Calvillo. Your thoughts on watching his progression
after you left?
Well, I just did with Anthony what Damon Allen and Matt Dunnigan did to me. They just passed on knowledge, and I think if more quarterbacks pass on knowledge, the tempo of the game, the preparation for the game, then they certainly will increase their ability to win because you got your second quarterback ready to play.
See what a young star has been compared to Tracy Ham. Darian Durant does here on 2nd and 7. Quarterback draw. Durant touchdown.
You can see he's a very special quarterback. You can watch the maturity a few plays before that. He changed the snap count to get off sides, and then he come back, and you can see growth and maturity. I've seen him play a couple times now.
You see a little bit of Tracy Ham?
I certainly do. You call the play, sir. Tracy Ham in the pocket.
It's a simple quarterback draw. You get everybody out. You feign the tackle. They're in a stunt on defense, and they just open up because you bring the defensive line on the stunt, and then you have nobody left to contain the quarterback. Great call.
Well, a play he would not call last week because of his health. He calls for a touchdown here. Eddie Johnson with the extra point. Tracy Ham, Hall of Famer. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for being with us.
Appreciate it.
Awesome, Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
14-6 Roughriders, early second quarter.
Well, that looked like a Tracy Ham quarterback sneak. So many years he did in Baltimore, he did in Edmonton, and boy, he couldn't have enough praise. Heaped enough praise on number 4, Darian Durant, saying he is a future star. He sees great maturity. We talked to him before the game about managing.
Eddie Johnson drilled that kickoff. Giannis Davis up to the 20, kick. Ronald Jones there to make sure he doesn't get any further.
You mentioned and touched on it, Chris, about last week in Montreal. A play came in from the bench for this exact play, the quarterback draw. And Darian Durant, who doesn't do this very often, waved it off. He basically called his own play in the huddle. He says he does that maybe a couple of times a game tops, but he said he just felt so weak last week against Montreal, he didn't want to run it. He's back.
So the Lions hit their 20. Into the hands of G. Roy Simon, and Chris McKenzie limits the damage.
Well, the difference in this game so far is both teams in that red zone have had opportunities. The Lions have to settle for field goals. Saskatchewan's punched it in, and a couple of timely penalties. I mean, penalties that have hurt Jacques Chapdelain's team, not just offensively, but also on defense. Some penalties at the wrong time for the Lions have hurt them. 4 for 40 so far.
2nd and 5, and this is when they amp up at Mosaic. Jackson pass and is able to thread that one in. Paris Jackson there in tight coverage. And it's a first down catch.
We're watching Jarius Jackson in this first quarter and starting this second quarter. You know, the one thing you see right away is that Jarius Jackson makes these decisions quickly. I mean, he's the difference between he and Travis Lulay and the experience that Jackson has being his 6th year in the Canadian Football League. You see the decisions are quicker. He is, however, because he hasn't taken many reps, locking in.
Robertson, and not very far. Brought down by Shamari Williams, the number 1 pick in the 2010 draft.
See also Jarius Jackson, Chris, coming up to the line, and a lot of times he's going quick count, first sound. And the reason to do that is because of the different looks that Saskatchewan will run defensively. He wants to see them declare. He wants to come to the line of scrimmage and have those defensive players in the front 7 go, you better not mess around too much. We're going to quick snap you.
He was calling this Rough Rider defense yesterday a travel defense because they are always on the move. 2nd and 10. And that pass incomplete, intended for Arsenault, who came into the game with 5 drops.
Plays made, though, by Tad Cornegay, who's playing, as we mentioned, that wide side corner. He's going to work up on Cornegay, who's playing right here in the corner. Now, he's going to play with cushion, stay off the receiver in Arsenault. He comes back. Now, he comes back to the ball, but watch the contact just there to force Arsenault to not be able to hang on to that one.
So 3rd down, McCallum in. And here's Dorsey from his 32. Good return for Dominic Dorsey, but a flag as James Jurachuk and Drew Messam bring him down. 18-yard return. Welcome back to the Canadian Football Hall of Fame game, and Bob Cameron, second all-time in games played.
He's a rookie in 1980 with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, played until 2002, 353 consecutive games.
And he's with Sarah Orlesky.
Bob, the first punter to be elected into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. When you think of all that you had to persevere just to get into the CFL, cut 8 times by teams north or south of the border before sticking with Winnipeg, would you have ever thought when you began that you would have been in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely not. And my whole career, I just was trying to hold on and keep my job. And to be here is just more than I could ever have imagined. And it's been fantastic.
23 years with the Blue Bombers. It's I mean, almost unheard of to spend that long playing football, but never mind with one team. What do you think was the key to your longevity?
Boy, that's a tough one. I really think it's the coaches that I've had. You know, they stuck with me. If I had any problems and I wasn't kicking that well, they stayed with me. And you know, I've got to take my hat off to those guys. And even at the end of my career with Dave Ritchie, not many coaches would keep a 48-year-old punter on their team. And I take my hat off to those guys really for keeping me on.
Well, Milt Stegall and Matt Dunnigan both said you were so much more than just a punter with those Bombers teams. Congratulations on your induction.
Well, thanks very much.
Is like a special teams coach in Winnipeg, the first Heck Creighton Trophy winner to be in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, and a guy that could handle the wind here in Regina and, of course, tame the prairie breeze in Winnipeg.
Best punter in the game with the wind in his face. Sport Time All-Canadian. 3 Grey Cup championships in Winnipeg.
2nd and 10, Saskatchewan. Durant looking for Rodriguez. Incomplete. Ryan Phillips in coverage. And a kicking situation for Saskatchewan.
That's one of the reasons that Ryan Phillips is pushing through, because he does have a bit of an ankle and wasn't sure if he could play in this game tonight, but he does have good success against Saskatchewan. All 4 of his interceptions last year were against the Roughriders, and they need his veteran leadership on key plays like that 2nd down. He was in perfect coverage on the Saskatchewan receiver.
Eddie Johnson replacing Louis Sokoto, who we'll see in Winnipeg. High, short kick. And it's Davis. Running east-west and brought down. Mike McCullough among the Rough Rider tacklers downfield. Mosaic, the customary sellout. Lions go to work, first down. And on a roll, Jackson to Simon. Brought down by Chris McKenzie.
Early in that first quarter, they were playing Justin Sorensen, the Lions, at tight end and running the ball to that side with Jamal Robertson. Well, that time they used that as the decoy to roll away from it and go to G. Roy Simon and get the quarterback in Jarius Jackson outside of the pocket.
First down catch for Simon of 11 yards. Ball at the 37 into the hands of Robertson off the right side.
That's all, guys.
And up to the 43.
Chris, all quick count, all first down type things for the offense for the Lions, and trying to make Saskatchewan declare defensively. They would love to, the Riders, move things around and try and confuse the offensive blocking schemes by the O-line. Jacques Chapdelaine understands that, and his idea here is get up on the line of scrimmage. If we start going on first down early enough, they'll learn quickly that they have to declare to get into their gaps.
Riders make 4 changes on defense for 2nd and 4. Bunch formation wide side. Jackson steps up, and Barron Simpson's there. Playing in his 150th game, Simpson with the tackle.
Well, Simpson's doing a nice job of what's called spying the quarterback. He's not going to really rush, and he's not really going to drop out of there either. He sort of sits at the line of scrimmage, takes a look, checks a crosser, realizes that he's got a little bit of an opening and takes it. former BC Lion, as you mentioned, 150th career game.
Second sack for Simpson on the season. McCallum to punt. Dorsey on the run, through the first wave, and up to the 50. A little more bounce in his step tonight.
He's getting closer. I know this has been an area of concern for Ken Miller, because coming into tonight, he had a 6.5-yard average, which was way down when you look at some of the new returners in the league. And Miller mentioning that it was a lot to do with his blocking, that they still had confidence in Dominic Dorsey, but at some point, you have to produce.
A couple of touchdowns for this Rough Rider offense here in the first half. Only 63 first half points in the opening third of the season. Wes Cates across midfield. And game tackled there. Dante Marsh, Joe Henderson. Henderson in the top 10 in tackles in this his rookie season.
Leads his team with 30. And that's one thing that I know Wally Buono is encouraged with, is the youth that he has and some of the depth that he has at linebacker. He got Anton McKenzie back. He's taking a leadership role in the group. And of course, Corey Banks is the guy who can cover or blitz off the edge. That's not been really an area of concern for the Lions. It was last year.
2nd and 4. 4 receivers wide side. And it's Fantuz, a first down catch. Cut down at the 45. Andy Fantuz with his first catch of the night. The 14th time he's caught a ball to convert on 2nd down this season.
Yeah, and that leads his team. That's the clutch catch when you really need that first down. And he's going to take advantage of a little pick from Weston Dressler, or in this case, because there was no flag, it was simply a rub. It was just an offensive rub with Dressler going down the field and Fantuz sliding right in behind it.
Now Jason Claremont checks in along with Chris Zarka as they go to the double tight end. Formation 1st and 10 at the line, 45. Durant rolling. Running out of time. And he'll just step out in front of Corey Banks for a short 2-yard pickup.
A new stat for 2010, the clutch receivers and those first down catches in 2nd or 3rd down. Who's the leader? Well, there's your leader in Richardson from Montreal. Andy Fantuz, one behind him now. May see that here tonight before the game's over. And there's Nick Lewis, Calgary Stampeders. And how about Arlan Bruce's last couple of games?
Wow.
Yeah.
Number 1 in CFL receiving after, what, 462 yards in the last 2 weeks? A remarkable role for Arlan Bruce. Some early movement on that line.
When Darian Durant wanted to go backside in a one-on-one matchup
Procedure.
with Shea Rodriguez.
Saskatchewan, number 57. 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
That's the right guard, Mark Paranto. So now 2nd and 13, 5 yards further out of field goal range.
Well, Darian Durant saw the safety coming on the blitz on that play. He was up at the line, and Tad Crawford, he had the one-on-one he wanted, and that procedure cost him.
Here comes the rush from Brick Johnson. It's away and picked off. Ryan Phillips again against the Rough Riders, and Phillips with a big return is out at the Saskatchewan 49-yard line. Phillips with his first interception of the season, and as you mentioned, he is muddy and a headache against Saskatchewan.
Ryan Phillips in the middle of your screen right here is going to roll into the safety spot as the BC Lions show a different coverage. He goes right down to the middle. Now this ball a little overthrown as Darian Durant has Brent Johnson on his heels off the hands of Getzlaff, and it really is amazing. All 4 of his interceptions last year against the Riders. His first one this year against the Riders.
That's 7 interceptions for Durant in the last 10 quarters. Robertson takes the pitch, and Lance Fraser was waiting for him.
That's for you, RP. Hey, Hunt. That's for you, dog. Get back healthy. We on our way. Don't look.
Getzlaff trying to work across that post and try and get the two deep defenders to get crossed up just off his hands.
Well, Glenn, that's 4 interceptions against Durant in the last couple of weeks that have gone off his receiver's fingertips. Quick move there, and Justin Sorensen came out of his stance too quickly. It'll be procedure against the Lions.
Procedure, BC, number 68. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Well, you can imagine that Justin Sorensen, things are happening pretty fast for him. He's not had a lot of playing time, playing up there in the right tackle. I do like the strategy for the Lions in that they're trying to protect those tackles a little bit. They've struggled in that position this year, and by putting a tight end outside of them, it can protect them.
Second and long. And Jackson pulls it down. He's in trouble, and he'll get dropped at midfield. It's the second sack of the night, third sack. And Jarrell Freeman's got 2 of them. The 3-minute warning given to the benches here at Mosaic. 3 minutes till live at the half. And then the guys will weigh in. Milton, Matt Schultze, and Dave Randorf. And interesting to get Matt Dunnigan's take on what he's seen from Jarius Jackson in this first half. I think a lot of people, based on what we saw in the fourth quarter last week, thought he might be able to put some points on the board tonight against Saskatchewan. So far, he's been frustrated.
They started out establishing the run. The Saskatchewan defense has reacted to that.
Dorsey from his 16, and he got horse-collared. And a flag flies as J.R. LaRose takes his second special teams penalty of the night.
Often these penalties aren't intentional, but they still have to be called. This is the Kenyon Ramble penalty.
Major foul, face mask, BC, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, we're told it was Anthony Reddick on the face mask.
He did reach around. I thought he did get the horse collar from behind Dominique Dorsey here, but there's 26, and you can see him catch the corner of that face mask, and that set him up to take a big hit because it pulled him backwards and left Dominique Dorsey vulnerable for that hit there.
So our apologies to JR. Another special teams penalty against the Lions. Durant can't find anybody. Montel Kraft in pursuit, and a hit on a sliding Darian Durant. And it does draw a flag. Stanley Franks with the late hit as Durant hit the deck.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. BC, number 6. 15-yard penalty at the end of the play. First down.
Well, first of all, to take care of the blitzing Corey Banks, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to go with their fullback in Chris Zarka as a tight end. So they're going to try and take care of the blitz with that. He's locked up with Banks. That's why Darian Durant can escape. And now see Kraft, or no, actually Franks with that hit after the hook slide.
Third 15-yard penalty, and here comes Cates trying to get around that left side, and Anton McKenzie, the former Saskatchewan Roughrider, with a sure tackle, but a couple of flags are on the carpet. Wally Buono telling us that McKenzie's really taken a leadership role with the young linebackers in BC, like Joe Henderson and Solomon Elimimian.
Holding, Saskatchewan, number 60. Major foul, face mask, BC, number 48. Net 5-yard penalty. First down.
So Mikowski took the holding penalty, the veteran left tackle, but a face mask against Joe Henderson.
48, top right of your screen, right up there. And you can see it doesn't matter if you have the running back or a blocker, you can't get your hands up in the face of the opponent.
Chris Zarka lined up at a tight end position. The recipient of the face mask. Here's the pitch to Rob Bagg, and he'll get tossed down by Franks at the line, 43-yard line. 7 for Bagg. Rob Bagg with 4 catches in the game. Darian Durant stressing yesterday, trying to spread the ball out more, not get it always in the hands of the same guy. Last week it was Dressler, and we haven't seen Weston Dressler so far tonight. Second down, and Wes Keats with Henderson pulling him down. Keats to the 39-yard line has another Saskatchewan first down.
Well, it's a good point because they want to have balance, first with Cates, but also in the receiving corps. And Ken Miller, that's why he talked about trying to make Darian Durant more aware of Priche Rodriguez. And in the last 2 games in Montreal, Weston Dressler, 21 catches, over 300 yards. So against the Alouettes, he's been the #1 target.
4th in the league in receiving is Dressler. Another quarterback draw. Durant dropped at the 29-yard line, close to another Saskatchewan first down. In fact, the chains are moving again. 10-yard pickup.
Out of pre-snap motion to just cause enough hesitation from the Lions defense. Gets Laugh in motion, so someone has to pick him up. Linebackers taking their vision away just long enough to give a little crease to the quarterback and Darian Durant. And if you catch those defensive linemen in a stunt or taking a wide pass rush lane, you've got a big play.
44 yards for Durant, 43 for Cates, and a handoff to Wes Keats straight ahead as he bulldozes down to the 22-yard line with 80 seconds left on the clock here in the first half.
Only 5 carries, 5 attempts last week versus Montreal for Wes Cates. His best season was 08. Just over 1,200 yards that year.
A bit of rain falling. Saskatchewan working against the Lions defense that's been vulnerable against the run, ranked 7th. Second down, quick hitter. Rob Bagg, another catch inside the 10 and still going. And how about Rob Bagg dancing down to the 2?
Saskatchewan, nice offensive scheme here. They're going to get Wes Cates to exit the backfield. He's right here to that part of your screen now. He's going to take a linebacker with him, and that declares man-to-man coverage. You see Anton McKenzie, you'll notice, and he'll take off. That opens up the middle, and guess where Rob Bagg ends up?
Timeout. BC.
Lions stop the clock, and Rob Bagg with some yards after the catch. Didn't want to go out. And they mark him at the 1. So first and goal, Saskatchewan at the 1-yard line. 2 for 2 in the red zone tonight. It'll be Cates. And he'll get back to the line of scrimmage and no more. Steve Williams, the nose tackle with the stop.
Yeah, Marcus Adams is the fullback on the play, trying to lead block, but Wes Cates chose not to follow him that time.
And the jumbo team comes out, and 3 receivers come in as now Doug Barry will try and spread it out. Second and goal from the 1. Out of the gun. Back to Cates. Touchdown.
I think you're seeing A little bit of the future on the goal line in the Canadian Football League. This jumbo formation doesn't work very often. It just brings more people to the line of scrimmage, and when you can spread it out and create gaps between defensive linemen, gaps on the outside, you have given your running back choices when it comes to scoring down in the goal line. I think that's going to be the future. You're going to see more and more offenses as this season goes on go to their regular offensive formations on the 1-yard line.
Behind the tight end, Chris Zarka. Second touchdown of the game for Wes Cates. Number 8 on the year as the Roughriders take charge with under a half minute to go in the first half.
Short yardage, you bring in tight ends, you bring in fullbacks, you bring in defensive linemen. The opposition just does that as well. You live Wes Cates one-on-one with the defensive back on the goal line. That's over.
I'm trying to get there too.
9 plays, 74-yard touchdown drive.
Is it on?
The Canadian Football Hall of Fame game.
Hey, way to go up front. Way to go. Way to go.
Hall of Fame, baby. He on his way. I'm trying to get there too, baby. Let's go.
Hey, we decided,
Roughriders.
it's 18 games, so we decided to give you a ground show. Just for the first half.
Way to go. What happened on the line?
Well, they didn't come busting out of the gate tonight, but it has been a better first half for Saskatchewan than they had in the first third of the season.
Darian Durant told us yesterday that it'd be nice for his team to get a lead in the first half and not be down by upwards of 21 points and have to look at the mountain to climb coming out of the second half to accomplish that here against the Lions.
A one hopper to Davis. And Giannis Davis doesn't reach the 30-yard line on the return. Kai Stewart with the special team tackle. And Jarius Jackson has 22 seconds to work with in a very quiet first half.
Heard Sarah right out of the gate talk about how this is an opportunity for Jarius Jackson, a chance to prove to Wally Buono that he should have the keys to the car when Casey Printers is healthy after the bye week.
Fires that complete. Paris Jackson again. First down up at the 37.
He asked him about his shoulder. He said right around the 80% mark. He said he doesn't feel pain when he's gotten and able to step into throws.
Excuse me, they're a yard short, so 2nd and 1. Looking downfield, and he's got O'Neal Wilson for a catch, playing in his 100th Canadian Football League game tonight.
One more quick throw in the intermediate range. The Lions may have a chance at a field goal.
Need about 15 to 20 to get into Paul McCallum range. And again underneath, Wilson. He was trying to get out Daniel Francis there, and time has run out. So the Saskatchewan Roughriders with 3 touchdowns have a 21-6 lead at halftime. Tomorrow night, Wendy's Friday Night Football has the Hamilton Tiger Cats taking on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Again, these guys play each other every week. But it is an important game for both teams, and that is the last time they will face each other into the playoffs. And we also have an interview at halftime with the Ticat owner Bob Young in reaction to the troubling story as it relates to the Ticats and their future in Hamilton. Where will they play once the lease is up after the 2011 season? I will talk to Bob Young in our studio tomorrow night at halftime during the Bomber Ticat game. At the halftime of this one, the Hall of Fame game, it is 21-6. Dave, Milt, Matt, and Chris, and the team that has the most touchdowns so far on the CFL adds 3 more. The Saskatchewan Roughriders. Wes Cates ups his league-leading total to 8. He had 7 all of last year. His single-season high is 14. He is rolling. So the Riders are doing this, Matty, despite the fact that their offense really isn't rolling. That's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
Not their defense.
No.
No.
No, you wouldn't think so.
No. Well, I can give you some stats.
Okay,
But, well,
shoot.
you know, it's just not good.
It's not good.
I don't want to bore you with those stats, but defense has not been their strength. You said
that you felt maybe Jarius Jackson would provide a spark offensively for the Lions. Why has he not been able to get something going?
Yeah, you know, prior to the game, Jarius Jackson, 13-5 as a starter for the BC Lions, gives the football team a lot of confidence going to this football game. But early in the football game, it was that Saskatchewan defense that set the tone. I really think got Jarius out of his game. It was Jarrell Freeman coming off the edge. Jarrell Freeman's from a Division III school down in Waco, Texas. Mary Hardin Baylor staying the load of Jarius Jackson. This really discombobulates him. Now Jackson's rushing the ball when he doesn't have to. Ball's coming out low, and he's staring people down, and it costs him big time. Frazier says, thank you very much. Jarius is discombobulated, and it's difficult to get your timing. And here, great drop by Jackson. He has plenty of depth, puts it on the money. Arsenault puts it on the ground. So it's a combination of a number of things. He's not getting help when he is in rhythm, and when he's out of rhythm, which you can understand is very difficult. Because when you're getting lit up early as a quarterback, I'm telling you, it's hard to keep your focus downfield because you want to start blocking for people. And then he gets you off your game, and then you're late with throws, and then the interceptions happen. So, Schultze, I credit the Saskatchewan defense for getting after Jarius Jackson early and throwing him off his game.
Very much so. I think anytime you're a quarterback and you take those shots early, it really hurts your nervous system and your confidence in the people that are supposed to protect you. But for the BC Lions, when it came to the opposite style of football, their ability to run block early, I think they had remarkable success. And I don't understand why they didn't continue to do this with Jamal Robertson. There were a number of times he was able to run to the right-hand side, and there were huge areas of space that he could take advantage of. Right there, he can cut to the left, to the right. He isn't touched until he's 30 yards downfield. So, okay, you say the first time's lucky. Well, what if you do it the second time? Well, once again, he has the space to make moves, to make positive yardage. And all that does is give the confidence to the running back, and he'll put his head down, and he'll get some more positive yards. You know, Jamal Robertson is on the bubble in the sense that because of a couple fumbles, he is not considered the running back for the BC Lions as this season progresses. Nobody wants to prove himself more than that young man. Give him the opportunity in the second half to prove himself as a running back.
In the meantime, Schultze, also the BC Lions got to clean up the penalties, face masks, procedure calls, late hits. 3 face masks in that first half alone. Milt, what about Darian Durant? What have you seen from him?
Well, Darian Durant is doing something that he talked about coming into this week. The 2 previous weeks, he was suffering from food poisoning, and he didn't feel that he could run and be the quarterback that they want him to be. But this week, he's full, he's healthy, and he's showing what he can do with his legs. I'm for sure Tracy Helm is happy to see what this man is doing. Yeah, he's not putting up great numbers, but he's using his legs at the right time. Coach Doug Barry is calling the right running plays at the right time. You look at this play. This is a second down play, and Darian Durant gets his team in a great situation. Short and long. This next play right here. This is a called draw for a quarterback. Touchdown. Defenses hate to see a quarterback who can use his legs because that just opens up so much for that defense. And Darian Durant is doing a great job. He's a leading passer coming into this week, but he's only thrown for 70 yards. But the fact that he's rushed for 44 yards is really opening up for this team. And if he continues doing that, this team is going to be difficult to win, difficult to beat.
He toughed it out last week, Milt, with the food poisoning. Did you ever play with stomach virus or something that just sapped all your energy?
It was a little stomach virus, but nothing like what he's playing through, so I give a lot of credit to him, what he's gone through.
And as he said moments ago, he figured they'd give us a little bit of the ground show, and West Cates is certainly not doing too bad. Bob Cameron, got a good look at him earlier, your former teammates, Milt and Matt. You know, first puncher into the Hall, also the first Heck Crichton Award winner, which you won in Acadia to ever go into the Hall. Interesting. Welcome back. It is Hall of Fame weekend, and there is the Hall of Fame quarterback, the latest to be inducted, Tracy Ham, former Eskimo, Alouette, Baltimore Stallion, Toronto Argonaut. You played with him 1 year in Toronto, Schultze.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, everybody forgets that. He went there in a huge trade, and anyhow, he's enjoying the moment tonight. Here are your halftime numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL. Milt.
Thank you, Dave. This is pretty much an even game. The one thing that stands out, 2 things are the quarterback sacks. They can't continue giving up Jarius Jackson getting no sacks. What else stands? Sacks. What else? Also, what stands out is the score. What's happening is BC is not taking advantage of their red zone opportunities as Saskatchewan is.
No, they aren't. Saskatchewan has 3 touchdowns on the board. Their head coach, Ken Miller, just spoke with Sarah Orleski.
Coach, heading into this game, Darian Durant said how nice it would be if you guys didn't have to play from behind. What did this team do well in that first half?
Well, I thought our teams played well. I thought we covered well with our teams. And then although our returns weren't real big, we had some solid returns. And then our defense, we let them have some yards early, but they've been stellar since. And then offensively, that last drive was really a momentum changer for us, I think.
What was the biggest change that you saw in that defense as the first half progressed?
Well, we made a couple of adjustments. Etch called a couple of different defenses, and we just settled down a little bit and took care of responsibilities.
Thanks for this, Coach.
Thanks, Sarah.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders trying to keep pace with the Calgary Stampeders, who are setting the pace right now in the West. Jennifer Hedger is here with a Sports Center update. First round of the PGA went today.
You know it, Dave. First round of the PGA Tour. Well, actually, not the whole round is in the books, but Tiger Woods coming off his worst outing as a professional golfer last week at Firestone. He was not the favorite heading into this major. He has been the favorite, though, at every major for the last 13 years. He started the round on fire. Birdies on 3 of his first 4 holes. Finished the day at 1 under. He's 3 shots off the lead, but play was suspended due to darkness. How about the Blue Jays? A thriller today. They avoided the sweep of the Reds, or at the hands of the Red Sox. 9th inning comeback. Toronto scored 4 runs. They overcame a 5-2 deficit. Freddie Lewis with the walk-off sac fly to win it. And earlier this evening on TSN2 at the Rogers Cup, world #1 Rafael Nadal punched his ticket into the corners. They straight sets win over Kevin Anderson of South Africa. Next edition of SportsCenter comes your way right after the football game. We will have a full wrap-up of the first round of the PGA Championship, plus the entire baseball story for you. But now we'll send it back to you, Dave.
Thank you, Jennifer. Here is the guy that everybody's been waiting to see in Regina tonight, Don Narcisse. He's going to do the dance just like he do at that stadium over and over again. Very popular rider. It is Hall of Fame weekend, and the Riders are leading big.
Lions trail by 15 as we head to the second half. But first, Sarah Orleski with BC coach Wally Buono.
Coach, I know that you've said that your quarterbacks need to play better. How would you assess Jarius's first half?
Well, again, he's got to get protection, and right now, their defensive line is putting a lot of pressure on us, and right now we're just getting physically beat up.
How do you make adjustments in the second half?
Well, again, I think you have to start by just playing harder, playing with more physicality, and right now we're not doing that.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Candid comments.
Yeah, it sounds like Wally Buono went in at halftime and simplified things for his football team. Basically, the message saying, go and start delivering, not catching. It's like Jarius Jackson trying to work out possible tightness in his shoulder there.
As McCallum kicks it off. And here's Dominic Dorsey. Ken Miller liked the return game. Dorsey nearly sprung that, but a flag back inside the Saskatchewan 30-yard line. But we have seen more flashes from Dominic Dorsey tonight than in the first 6 games of the year.
Well, at halftime, Ken Miller mentioned that, said he was
On the
most
run back.
pleased.
Holding. Saskatchewan, number 99. 10-yard penalty. It'll be first down.
That's the youngster Shamari Williams.
Miller said he was most pleased with his return game and with his cover teams. Like Dominic Dorsey was starting to get real close to breaking one, and he was there. Not for a holding call.
So the Lions have been challenged about their physicality. So what do we see in this first defensive series for BC? As Saskatchewan starts at their own 16. High snap. Durant seemed to have a little trouble with it. And that may have put the play off kilter.
Take a look at the quarterbacks in the first half. Matt Dunnigan talking about Jarius Jackson and how a hit early on by Jarrell Freeman may have shaken him up a little bit, just 70 yards. But then again, Darian Durant only was 72 yards. Both running backs involved in that first half. Jamal Robertson in the first quarter, Wes Cates throughout the first half.
Durant with 445 last week. He has been the leading passer in 3 of the first 6 weeks of the season. Oh boy. And some early movement there by Dan Goodspeed, the right tackle.
Procedure, Saskatchewan, number 64. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
Sometimes I feel for the offensive linemen and guys like Chris Schultz when I only circle them when that happens. I'll try and circle them when they make a good block as well.
He is a 3-time All-Canadian. Dan Goodspeed at right tackle, but it's the deepest Saskatchewan's been in their own end. And Durant hit as he threw it and almost intercepted through the hands of 2 Lion defenders, including Corey Banks.
And 2 Saskatchewan receivers right in the same area, Precier Rodriguez and Andy Fantus, and that's a mistake because you want to spread the field. There's not many offensive plays that'll put 2 receivers in the same area like that. And it looked like maybe Precier Rodriguez came back and broke off of his route, but Corey Banks had the best chance at it.
So Giannis Davis stands at the Lion 50-yard line as Eddie Johnson gets set to kick it away. And Davis from his 50 hops across midfield, tries to bounce it outside, and is brought down at the Roughrider 50. Neil Hughes, one of the downfield tacklers. A great halftime here honoring the Hall of Famers, but early here in the third quarter, big series for the Lions to get back in it. Little pitch to the left side, and this is Davis cutting back, and he could go. Giannis Davis, he'll walk in, touchdown. And the Lions get back in it in a hurry.
Well, as pumped up as I know Wally Buono will be with this touchdown from Giannis Davis, I'm sure the first thing he says to him is, I'd be careful with the hot dogging at the end of it because that ball was out of his hand there and he was waving it around. But what a cutback to go all the way back against the grain. Sean Lucas overran it a little bit from the backside, the Rider linebacker, and he was on the 20-yard line when he first took that ball and started waving it around.
We had some fun with a former NFL superstar last week who just happened to be the guy that Wally Buono compared Giannis Davis to. And it wasn't Walter Payton.
Barry Sanders was the guy he brought up. Said if you put a different jersey on him, he looks just like him. Runs the same.
And that run, 51 yards, to pay dirt for the Lion rookie. And his second CFL touchdown. 2 carries, 76 yards here tonight.
It's a lot of TV time.
Real nice block at the line of scrimmage here. See Dan Randolph in that inside here at tackle. He's going to kick out on Sholigan. That's the start of the play at the point of attack for Giannis Davis. If he doesn't get that kick out block, then the tackle is made right there for a loss of 2. So a good block there by Dane Randolph out of Maryland, and a cutback from Giannis Davis with some tremendous acceleration. And did he almost lose that football when he held it up and had to kind of regain possession against his body? That he better be careful about.
So we just started the second half. Already the Lions with 145 rushing yards in the game. And the game takes on a different complexion. And Dorsey gets jolted as he crossed the 30-yard line.
He shows his great vision, and then the acceleration at the end of it. Now, does he lose the handle here as he's about to put... Almost. Oh, he's just tapping it on his shoulder pads there. I once saw Gizmo Williams in this Hall of Fame as we talk about some of the old greats. Start to celebrate on the 5-yard line and leave it right there.
So it's an 8-point Saskatchewan lead, just like that. Darren Durant trying to get it back. Has man 2s. Stanley Franks will push him out at the 40, has 6.
Well, this football team in Saskatchewan has such great confidence in themselves. It doesn't seem to matter what happens in the game. They will come back. And you think back to week 1 against Montreal, down by 21.
I was going to say it wouldn't be a Rough Rider game without some second half drama.
Yeah, and I mean, I know they're leading the football game, but they're coming back from that big run from Giannis Davis.
2nd and 4, 6 receivers out, and that ball batted down at the line. Looked like Brent Johnson got his hand on the football, and back-to-back 2-and-outs.
With Montrell Craft being able to come inside and Karan Williams in there, that allows Brent Johnson to get back into the rotation. Last week against the Calgary Stampeders, he was the starter at the end, and you could see he wasn't going for the pass rush at all on Mikowski. In fact, didn't even make contact, put his hands up, and just eliminated the throwing lane. So, as we mentioned, the Riders always seem to have an answer to a big score. The Lions make a play.
And Giannis Davis is back. Eddie Johnson, high boot. And it falls down at the 25. Flags fly as Davis is sprung again, but this one's coming back, and I think Davis knows that and won't even challenge Eddie Johnson. Also being honored here with induction into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame is Joe Pastelli. 42 years involved in junior football in Quebec and 29 years with Football Canada. He's standing by with Sarah Orlesky.
Joe, Chris Cuthbert just talked about all of the involvement that you've had with junior football. What was your reaction when you found out that you were going to be recognized and inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame?
Well, Mark Cohan called to speak to me, and I had gone shopping. So when I came home, my wife Stella said, a gentleman called, his name was Mark. I didn't get the second name. Here's his phone number. So I called, and it was Mark Cohan. And then he said, congratulations, you've been inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was incredulous.
We've seen the development of football and the popularity of it in Quebec just go wild. What do you attribute that to at all levels across the board?
Well, not only in Quebec, but all of Canada. The tremendous volunteers that work in amateur football. And thanks to the exposure the CFL gets on television. And the college program, the university program has really come to a higher level. And in the juniors, there's a CJFL across Canada. We have our Quebec Junior Football League, but the junior colleges in Quebec, 38 teams. That's unreal. They're all junior age players. So and you know, the French phenomena, years and years ago when I was a young man, they watched the NFL. Now they watch the CFL. And I think that's a big thing.
Well, congratulations on this well-deserved honor.
Thank you very much, sir.
Well, the blossoming of football in Quebec, one of the remarkable stories, and the Roughriders challenging the catch. Ruled on the field as Chiroy pulls it off the carpet.
He was pretty casual about it and really sold it. It looks like it may have bounced up to him.
Looks like this one is going to be overturned.
Big difference between 2nd and 10 and 2nd and 4, or take a look one more time at this and see if this football does touch the ground right there.
But the future Hall of Famer is so smooth with it that looked like he had made a shoe top catch.
You know, sometimes you can see the pebbles in these turf jump up.
After review, the pass is incomplete. It will be 2nd down at the 11-yard line.
I was going to say I didn't see those pebbles jump up, but it did look like it skimmed off the ground, and that catch puts that overturning of the call, and that catch puts them in 2nd and long.
It's only 6 yards, but a big challenge with the Lions starting as deep as they've been tonight.
Yeah, I think there's no question that bounced.
And so it's 2nd and 10 from the Lion 11. James Patrick backed off. Looks like it was a safety blitz, and the pass incomplete. Skipping in front of the intended target, O'Neal Wilson.
Jarrell Freeman is a guy that the Lions just can't seem to keep off their quarterback. He's once again coming on the rush. He's working on John Hameister-Reese, and he has help from Jamal Robertson. And again, it's number 50 right here, he's going to come and watch Jamal Robinson try and come and help on him. He's going to have the tackle, number 67. John Hameister-Reese right there, a little bit of a double team, doesn't matter. Pushes Jarius Jackson into his end zone, has to throw it away.
Jarius told us yesterday there are some positions, arm positions that he's still uncomfortable with, and that looked like it was one of them. Paul McCallum will run around a bit and concede 2. And so now the lead is 10, 23-13. Well, unfortunately not with us for the Hall of Fame induction. The SWAC attack. Elfrid Payton, number 56. 23 quarterback sacks in '93, a 14-year career. Top defensive player in 2002, and we saw him with Winnipeg, Montreal, Baltimore, Edmonton, Toronto, and Shreveport. And Schultze still having nightmares about number 56. After the safety, Dorsey on the return, up to the 48-yard line.
154 career sacks for Elfrid Payton. Did everything in his power to get up here, but just couldn't do it. A 5-time All-Canadian, and it was real interesting to hear Chris Schultz talk about having to try and block Elfrid Payton and how he didn't just beat offensive linemen, he embarrassed them. And that's how good he was as a pass rusher. And really it was that era and that kind of player that really was part of the evolution of the rush end in the Canadian Football League.
Roughriders trying to get a little offensive momentum back. Wes keeps the screen. He's brought down at the 52-yard line. Anton McKenzie the tackle, and as ferocious as Elfrid Payton was, we'll get to that in a moment.
Well, I was going to say, this is one way to block a good pass rusher, and Karan Williams certainly is that. And Dan Goodspeed does this. He comes off the line, and then boop, little cut block, and over goes Karan Williams. But it's one way to stop a dominant pass rush.
See, you didn't just circle Dan Goodspeed. You showed some good stuff, too.
Well, I wanted to run there.
2nd and 6. And Durant has Fantuz right at the first down stick with Ryan Phillips on his back.
I make conversations with Coach Ken Miller about Andy Fantuz. He always goes back to time and space and how Andy Fantuz is not going to wow you with breakaway speed. He's got solid hands, but his ability to know where he is on the field and when to be in a certain spot. I mean, that's pretty good coverage there by Ryan Phillips, but Andy Fantuz knew just when to slide into that open area.
First down of the second half for Saskatchewan. The second down conversion by Fantuz. There's Rodriguez, and quickly on him again is Ryan Phillips. Just to finish the story on Elfrid Payton, when his coach Dave Ritchie in Winnipeg was hospitalized, Elfrid at the hospital visiting the coach every day, kind of guy he was. I love the fact that he'd show up 5 minutes before the game, no tape, nothing. Just, let's go play.
I can't even get my head around that thought. I was there like in the morning opening it up with Bobby Jerson. I don't know what that would be like.
2nd and 4 Roughriders. BC 46. Another quick hitter. And another second down conversion. That's the league lead in that department for Andy Fantuz with his 3rd of the night and 16th of the year.
Nice little battle going out here on the edge with Karan Williams and Dan Goodspeed. We saw Goodspeed with the cut block, and I think it's taken the wind out of the pass rusher off the edge here for the Lions. A couple times now he looked a little bit slow out of his stance, and just takes the wind out of you when you get cut down like that in one play.
First down just inside the line, 40. And Durant really stumbled and wisely throws it away.
I like the call here by Mike Benavides, the defensive coordinator, because I think he might have noticed the same thing. So what did he do here is he called Karan Williams here to slant down so that Corey Banks can get the edge. Rather than try and keep contained and work one-on-one on Dan Goodspeed, he's going to have Karan Williams just become a decoy and sell his body out so that Corey Banks can come up high, and that's what causes problems for Darian Durant.
Looked like number 4 almost tripped up on his left tackle, Gene Makowski. So 2nd and 10. And he's got Rob Bagg, who's been his favorite target tonight. Another first down. Bagg at the 25. Number 6 for number 6 on the night.
Rob Bagg's wide receiver is working on Davis Sanchez. I think Sanchez is going to fall down on the play. That's why he is so wide open. Sanchez tries to squat on him there and jump the route. He slips and falls, and Rob Bagg wide open right on the numbers.
6 consecutive passing plays on the drive for the Roughriders. And now a first down at the Lions 25. And they fake that Dressler sweep. Durant over the middle. Fantuz, another catch. And a first down at the 14.
Boy, when you're rushing a good running quarterback, it can become frustrating. And watch Brent Johnson here. He's not sure what he has to do here. He comes now. Do I rush full speed? No, because he's too good at rushing. Do I put my hand? He's second-guessing all his way to the quarterback, and Durant has enough time to find Andy Fantuz because of it.
4th time into the red zone for Darian Durant. 3 touchdowns on the previous 3 visits. And now the quarterback option. There's Dressler. And he's taken down at the 7. Ryan Phillips there, and but a quiet night for Weston Dressler.
You know, versus BC, didn't have a big night in their first meeting of the season. Just 3 catches for 53 yards in that one. And when you consider his last game against Montreal, well over 100 yards there. So Darian Durant, true to his word, he told us he wanted to spread the ball around. Well, he's done that.
So 2nd and 4. From the 7. Durant running out of time, takes off, touchdown. Wes Cates has a pair. Now Darian Durant has 2 touchdowns on the night.
The first on the quarterback draw was a design play. This was pass all the way, and he just takes off and scrambles when he doesn't like what he sees downfield. And it took him a series, but the Saskatchewan Roughriders do have that answer.
4 touchdowns on the year for Durant. Little breathing room after the early second half touchdown by the Lions. It's a 17-point Saskatchewan lead. Find out how you can create your own plays at NissanArmchairHero.com.
I'm going to show you 2 linebackers here, Anton McKenzie and Joe Henderson, and how they have to try and vice the quarterback on the scramble here in Darian Durant. Now, first of all, McKenzie has Cates, but he's going to drop him now. He's going to go one side, and look how Henderson overruns it and really cuts off the middle linebacker and Anton McKenzie. If he stays wide, then he knows his teammate inside. Folks, that's about trust. You have to trust the guy beside you to make the tackle. There's no trust in the linebacking core there, and Darian Durant makes him pay for it.
Kickoff pushes Davis back to his goal line. Now he's got some running room. Hits the crease and is outside the 35. So he's been dangerous tonight. Kai Stewart takes him out. 9-play drive, 62 yards, and they chew up 5:36 on the clock. And the deficit now 17 for Jarius Jackson.
But not too far into this game at 17-point spread to abandon Jamal Robertson, abandon what worked in the first quarter. And the BC Lions have had some success running the ball against the Saskatchewan defense.
I think Matt Dunnigan alluded to it at halftime. You wonder about the arm strength right now. Jarius Jackson, he has not pushed it downfield very much. See if he does here. Oh, he hasn't had time. Taken down just beyond the 40-yard line. There's Shamari Williams, who's been prominent tonight, the youngster.
Well, and Matt Dunnigan at halftime talked also about the hit that he took from Jarrell Freeman early on in this game and how that may have rattled him a little bit. because I thought he had a chance here to maybe, if he's throwing on time, to hit Geroy Simon right on that break there. And he pulled it down and didn't pull the trigger. Geroy open over the middle.
2nd and 4. Quarterback draw, tripped up. He won't get there as Mike McCullough, the veteran linebacker, brings Jackson to the turf short of the first down.
He's going to just run a little stunt up front where he's going to step up in one gap and then twist around Kitwana Jones into the next, but has the speed to corral Jarius Jackson.
Dorsey awaits. 3.5 minutes remaining. 3rd quarter. And Dominic Dorsey from his 26 gets across the 35. TSN's live coverage of the 2010 PGA Championship continues tomorrow with 2nd round action beginning at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And log on to tsn.ca for exclusive online coverage of the par 3s and featured groups. Log jam at the top, including Ernie Els and Bubba Watson.
244 members now of the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. It's been in Hamilton since 1963.
Roughriders start at their 36 and put it in the hands of Wes Keats.
It's a big series for the BC Lions defensively. If the Lions can't get a stop here and Darian Durant's able to put the nail in the coffin, well, you can start playing the Rider fight song.
Dominique Pittman with the tackle there. Young front, Montrell Kraft and Pittman, both college teammates at North Alabama. Or strangely enough, they were called the Lions, and they played at Braley Stadium. And now, youngsters in that front 4 for the BC Lions looking for a stop here. 2nd and 9. Pressure off the edge. Durant gets it away, and it's incomplete. And a flag, pass interference as Banks was on the back of Andy Fantuz.
He was on the back. The flag came out late, but did he get there late? This has been a hot topic in the Canadian Football League this week after last weekend's game. And Andy Fantuz.
Pass interference. BC number 24 results in an automatic first down.
Bunch formation for Saskatchewan at the line of scrimmage. Fantuz going to end up working on Corey Banks one-on-one as they come out of that break. And here's the post pattern now. Did Corey Banks get over the top of Fantuz prior to the ball arriving? Marginal at best.
And it turns out to be a 36-yard penalty. Rob Bagg makes the first wave miss. He's had a big night, his best of the year. And another Rough Rider first down.
I'll take one more look at that pass interference call because it could be the key play that really ends this game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the BC Lions, in that Riders finish this drive with a major. It could be all she wrote. Take a look to the right of your screen. I thought the timing was pretty good by Banks there. Can't see what he's doing with his left hand, but he is playing the football all the way. And unless he twists Fantuz, I don't see a twist there at all. That's marginal at best.
Now the draw. Keats breaks through an arm tackle and down to the 20.
And now the Lions back against it. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders with a real opportunity to go and get that killer instinct that they've wanted.
Defensive tackle Steve Williams shaken up. The Lions defense that surrendered 30 points for only the second time this year. The other against the Roughriders in week 2 when they were beaten 37-17. 18 in Vancouver. Williams gets attention in the final minute here of the third quarter. Wally Buono trying to snap a 5-game losing streak, and he knows where the buck stops in this current tailspin.
The onus and the responsibility of the club belongs on the head coach, and you know, everything flows from me. So, you know, if you want to point the finger, then point it at me. You know, that's where things start, and that's where things should be. So, you know, my job is to make sure this organization win. My job is to make sure that the coaches do a good job and the players play well enough to win, and that hasn't happened, so the responsibility is mine.
Call from the owner after the loss against Calgary. When you've won 236 games in your career, you have a little more cushion in a losing streak. So Williams out. 2nd and 4. And the play does not get off.
You do have more cushion. But the question, I know that it's been brought up in Vancouver for Wally Buono, is he approaching the time where he could move into management permanently and hand over the reins?
Offside, Saskatchewan, number 89. 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
As his head coach. And I know the questions surrounding the quarterbacks and whether or not they've been good enough there, and Wally Buono said they haven't. I'm not so sure that that's not the issue. The issue for this football team is in the trenches, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Doesn't seem to matter who's throwing it.
Late stages of the third quarter, and 2nd and 9, and Durant. This one is an easy pick. Guess who? Ryan Phillips again.
11th against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Out of 24 in his career.
Which is almost half of his career interceptions. Once again, Ryan Phillips, and it just statistically it's almost impossible.
But clearly Durant and Dressler not on the same page.
Yeah, Durant obviously throwing to a spot thinking that Dressler was going there. He wasn't. He read that Ryan Phillips had jumped that area and tried to break it off and go into the middle. Communication issue between quarterback and receiver.
Yeah, Ryan Phillips letting you know he's not going to turn down chances like that. Final play, third quarter. Giannis Davis darting across the 30 to the 32. And that's it. We're through three-quarter time. A 17-point Rider lead. Third quarter stats are brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
Lions hanging around. Penalties have been an issue, but they're hanging around and be interesting in the fourth quarter.
While it is the Canadian Hall of Fame game here in Saskatchewan, the headliner here at Mosaic, none other than Donald Narcisse, one of the great wide receivers in Canadian Football League history. 919 catches, a lot of them beauties like those. 216 consecutive games with a catch. There's a record that won't be beaten, and a lot of emotion at halftime, wasn't there?
It was. It's just great. You know, I played for 13 years for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It's just a blessing in disguise to be doing it, to be going into the Hall of Fame in Saskatchewan.
Your greatest memory throughout your career?
My greatest memory, I tell you what, going to kids' birthday parties. I utilized myself playing on the football field to be able to go out in this community and get back and read and give back to the community. And there's a lot of birthday parties I went to, anniversaries and stuff like that. But, you know, this is a community-owned team, and this is what you have to do as an athlete.
Who has been the greatest influence on you and your career throughout growing up?
Well, you know, my parents. You know, my mom, she just passed away Monday. And, man, I tell you what, she did a lot for me. And I tell you what, she's looking down at me, and she's really proud of me. And this is what it's all about.
Here's the BC Lions play from scrimmage, first on the fourth. Well, we're going to show you halftime, and we do want to offer our condolences about the passing of Dorothy. And I know there's a special picture that you wanted to get taken here at this Hall of Fame with her in mind.
Yes, I tell you what, man, when I seen that picture, it just brings tears to your eyes because I couldn't have done it without my mom.
And your family's here? How many of the Narcisse family are here?
Well, I tell you what, I have 3 brothers, 2 sisters. I have all my kids, my 3 kids, my wife. Man, we're having a blast over here, man. This is what it's all about, the Canadian Football League. Oh, man, it's just great.
3rd and a yard and a flag down. And
too many men, I think, Saskatchewan on this play. Narco, I want to ask you about the 89 season, the 89 run, though, because it was your breakout year, a rookie in 1987, but you hooked up with Ken Austin, and there was some magic there.
It was a lot of magic. And, you know, really when you play football, you know, in 1989, that was my 3rd year playing. And the one thing that I remember Ray Elgard letting you know that, hey, you'll never know when you're going to get the opportunity to play in this game again. And got a chance to win the Grey Cup, man. It was just a blessing because you know, playing for 13 years, you never know when you're going to get a chance to play again.
First down.
Well, there was too many men, and that'll move the football up 10 yards. Rider fans have always been great. You know that. What are your thoughts coming back to Mosaic since it's gone off the hook?
I tell you what, man, it is something. I guess, you know, we build the foundation, and everything is working fine out here.
Jarius Jackson guns it, and that's a first down catch to Paris.
Now, I have to ask you, and I didn't ask you as a teammate through all those years that we played together, after you scored touchdowns, you had a unique way to celebrate. How did that come about?
Hey, it's something that I used to practice in the mirror. As you can see, that's the Narco strut. Often imitated, never duplicated.
Now, Jarius Jackson has just thrown his first 2 completions in the second half.
There's a guy for the BC Lions, as you know, in G. Roy Simon, that he calls it the Superman. But we thought it was pretty close. I mean, there's your part, and then you got the ending there. Now watch G. Roy.
Checking him out.
G. Roy's got the, and he does a little.
What do you think? Pose at the end.
Did he take a little?
Take a little, yeah.
2nd and a yard. And with Travis Luley in, the play does not get off.
Narco, I wanted to touch quickly on your involvement in the community. No Saskatchewan Rough Rider has ever been voted.
BC, number 63. 5-yard penalty remains 2nd down.
Has ever been voted 3 times the most popular player in this province. You were the guy who was. I know that was important to you.
Yeah, it was really important to me because, you know, growing up, I never got a chance to meet a professional athlete. I just wanted to give back to these kids to let them know that, hey, dreams do come true, hard work does pay off. And I did a lot of things to help the community out.
Jovan Olafioye was called, so 5 yards back. It's 2nd and 6, and Jackson into traffic, and that's broken up. James Patrick, Lance Fraser were both there, and it'll be 3rd down.
You heard me many times talk about quarterbacks throw into a tight window. Well, James Patrick, he just shut the window with Lance Fraser out there. And Jarius Jackson is lucky, very lucky, that he doesn't throw another interception here. Because Patrick looked like he had his best chance at it.
There's another penalty that hurts the Lions. They were 2nd and 1, taken back 5 yards, and now into a kicking situation. Paul McCallum looking for the corner. And that ball out, and it's going to be an illegal kick at the 21. Flag flies. Donald Narcisse in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Thanks for joining us, and congratulations on a brilliant career.
Congrats, buddy.
Thank you all so much.
Well, this weekend, Barclays Premier League action continues on TSN2 as Tottenham takes on Manchester City, beginning Saturday morning at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, exclusively on TSN2.
How about this class? Matt Dunnigan, Bobby Jurison, Alan Pitts.
Good likeness of Dunnigan. The neck could have been a little wider.
Yeah, you got to widen that out a little bit. Go straight from the ear, straight to the shoulder.
Approaching the 3-minute mark, 4th quarter, and Roughriders go to work. Wes Cates off the right side. Short yardage, and Steve Williams back into the game after being shaken up late in that third quarter.
You know, both these teams defensively have really eliminated the big play for the most part. I mean, a couple of runs broke, but they haven't given away that big home run strike through the air.
Lions have been good in that area. In fact, lead the league defensively in surrendering the fewest big plays. 20-yard runs or 30-yard passes, only 11 on the year. And the Roughriders among the league leaders in big plays offensively. This might be one. Durant made an extra move there and got up to the 35. It's a first down.
Well, the issue, and I know Lions fans are wondering why he's getting such big running lanes up the middle. The issue is that the linebacker that's supposed to try and tackle a guy in the middle like Darian Durant is in coverage with Wes Cates so often that he goes over there to cover him, and it really takes him out of the pursuit angle of trying to go up in there and then tackle the quarterback running down the middle. So if the Lions continue to play man and have the linebacker cover Cates, they'll get in trouble on those plays.
13 for Durant, 67 on the ground in this game. And now pitching it to Rodriguez, who makes a man miss. And another first down. There's Preche Rodriguez still going into Lion territory, and a flag late as Rodriguez goes down at the BC 50. And the flag came from the opposite side of the field. By the way, it's a season high for Darian Durant, 67 yards rushing.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Saskatchewan, number 89. So after the play, 15-yard penalty, he 1st and 10.
Chris Getzlaff was cruising.
Roughriders ranked 2nd in the league, just 68 yards of penalties a game. This is the type of penalty that they really haven't taken after over 6 weeks. You see Getzlaff just flash across your screen there. Again, that was a close call. It looked like the tackle wasn't completely made on Preche Rodriguez, and he was trying to make a block.
So back at their own 45, Durant gets hit but gets it away. Jump ball. He's got Chris Getzlaff down to the Lion 30 for Getzlaff, who has his first catch of the night. And his 5th of 30 yards or more on the year. 35, this time to number 89.
Yeah, Chris Getzlaff here does a great job of acting with the ball in the air. And what I mean by that is he sells it well against Davis Sanchez. Once Darian Durant gets the corner, just has enough time to get it out there. Now Sanchez is trying to read Getzlaff and look at his hands. And when he puts his hands up and his eyes get big, that's when he's going to react. Well, he can't tell when it's going to arrive. So Getzlaff is calm, cool, and just pulls that one in and fools Sanchez.
That'll make them forget the penalty. Durant wide open. Touchdown, Chris Getzlaff. His first of the year.
And the floodgates are open. We're looking for that big play from the offense. One of these offenses, you know, the Riders are certainly capable of it. What they've shown over the last 6 weeks of the season, and it was a matter of time. Getzlaff catches the corner, and then right down the seam against the zone is wide open. Closest player, Davis Sanchez, and he doesn't have a chance.
It's an 89-yard touchdown drive, and it ends with 89 in the end zone. And this score looking a lot like their first meeting in week 2. Johnson the extra point. It's 37-13 at Mosaic. First touchdown catch of the year for Chris Getzlaff. The first touchdown pass of the night for Darian Durant. After the first 4 Saskatchewan Majors were on the ground. There's A.J. Harris up across the 35-yard line.
It's a zone defense. The Lions are playing with Davis Sanchez and Tad Crawford, the deep players. There's Sanchez at the corner. There's Crawford at safety. And here's Getzlaff. Now, here's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to go back into the thirds of the field so that they can close downhill on the receiver coming through the seam. Well, what they do is they don't get enough depth. Getzlaf comes down the middle, down those hash marks right there. Because they've frozen, not enough depth, he runs right past them. A 3-deep zone, you should not ever be beat deep down the middle like that.
Darius Jackson still at the controls. Dumps it off underneath Robertson. And brought down by Daniel Francis.
This is one of the fundamentals of playing a 3-deep zone, is you want to make sure that you don't give up the deep play. Davis Sanchez, first of all, at the top of your screen, stays wide. Now, freeze it right there, guys. See, he's too wide. He needs to be right here playing downhill, and Crawford has to be back in that spot. That's the deep thirds. Now they can close on that play. They're caught too shallow, and Getzlaf makes them pay for it.
2nd and 3. Here comes the rush. Complete to Arsenault, and Emmanuel Arsenault trying to get outside Portugay and down the sidelines. His first catch of the night.
A crossing route with Omar Morgan right up in his face, and he gets caught in the wash. That's why you run the crossers over the middle. You're hoping that a player playing that tight of man-to-man will get picked off by someone in there.
28 yards for Arsenault. It was over 100 last week against Calgary. They go no huddle. And that one almost intercepted G-Roy Simon. The intended target was well covered on the play. Second-year man Chris McKenzie.
Even if the Lions can finish this drive, you just not sure if you ever had the sense in this football game that the BC Lions were able to fight and win this game. It just
only after the Davis 51-yarder to start.
A little bit of life there, but Wally Buono talked about it at halftime.
2nd and 10. Here comes the rush, and they've got him again. Jarrell Freeman, his 3rd of the game.
Yeah, and I would suggest that the BC Lions' issues are really not at the guy who's throwing the football. They're up front on that offensive line, because Jarrell Freeman has just absolutely dominated. He has not been able to be blocked by the BC Lions all game long, whether it be John Hameister-Reese. At times he's got help at tackle playing Justin Sorensen. At times they've tried to have Jamal Robertson block for him. They can't stop him.
Now it's 3rd and 14 from the 43. Jackson trying to keep it alive, but more pressure knocked out of his hand. And they're ruling incomplete. Brent Hawkins swooped in and knocked it away from Jarius Jackson. It's a turnover on down, Saskatchewan.
I'll show you some of the protection issues with the BC Lions. There's Brent Hawkins and Jamal Lee and Dane Randolph. Now, Jamal Lee is in the line of scrimmage to give Randolph's chance and some more time to get to Brent Hawkins. By playing a tight end, you leave the tight end there to buy him time to get into his blocking formation. Even with that extra time, he can't get there and stop Brent Hawkins, and it's a turnover for the Riders. I mean, that is the protection issues, and that's fundamental stuff.
Close game. You wonder if they would have challenged that as a fumble. Ryan Dinwiddie is in at quarterback to mop up for Darian Durant. That's his first pass as a Saskatchewan Roughrider. Incomplete.
Well, you know, he has had a lot of reps in practice over the last couple of weeks simply because Darian Durant's illness, his food poisoning issue. And so Ryan Dinwiddie got a lot of practice with the first team and valuable reps to mop up here with 6 minutes to go.
Was ruled a catch, and there's a challenge from the BC Lions. Darian Durant said he was more beaten up at this point in the season than last year leading into the bye week, and I think he's going to enjoy the next 16 days.
The ruling on the field of a completed pass.
Of healing up, especially with the thumb, the food poisoning, and let's take another look at the play that's under review.
Looked like it's a close one.
Saw G. Roy Simon earlier tonight have one overturned as he tried to pick it off the carpet, and we find out whether Weston Dressler has his first catch of the night or not. Again, these teams go into the bye week. Next game for Saskatchewan will be in Edmonton August 28th. The day before, the Lions are back in action against Calgary, and it doesn't get any easier for the Lions.
Upon review, the pass is ruled incomplete. It will be second down from the 43.
So they'll move it back. It'll be 2nd and 10. Wally Buono will have a couple of weeks to try and unlock the mystery of why this season has gone so wrong.
Started to shake it up this week with the release of Derek Armstrong at receiver.
2nd and 10 for Dinwiddie, and that one hops to Rodriguez, incomplete. Our sack tally is brought to you by Purolator, tackling hunger across Canada. Check, and the Roughriders, with a big night, have taken the lead.
Jarrell Freeman, 3 for him, and a couple of pressures as well. And if I think back to that first game between these two teams at Empire Field, if I recall, Casey Printers was hit 19 times in that game. Not 19 sacks, obviously, but was hit 19 times. And one of the reasons that he was injured and out of the lineup. So once again, the BC Lions can't seem to figure out the protection schemes against the Saskatchewan defense.
Here's Davis on the return, fumbles the football, and who's got it? J.R. LaRose saves it for BC. Daniel Francis with the forced fumble, but LaRose maintains possession for the Lions.
Not sure who got their hand. Looked like Wes Cates was down there first. Or is that Kitwana Jones? No, that's Kitwana Jones, one of the great covermen in the league. He pops it out of there.
But LaRose alertly.
Daniel Francis is well involved, yeah.
Jackson a pump. Nothing there. He goes to the backside. And Arsenault hurdles over Omar Morgan and gets tossed down by Barron Simpson. A first down for BC. What a night for Jarrell Freeman, a linebacker move to rush end, who's made a huge impact.
Well, he hasn't been able to be stopped when he's had a chance to play. The Lions have tried to play a tight end on him with Justin Sorensen. They've tried to help out their tackles by getting Jamal Robertson involved, but he has been a terror.
Darius Jackson, another completion to Emmanuel Arsenault with under 5 minutes to go. First 3 sacks of the year for Freeman.
You heard Jarrell Freeman say, going to the bye week, baby. Boy, it makes a difference when you go to the bye week with a win. It's a long break when you're staring 6 straight losses in a row in the face.
This is foreign territory for, well, that man in particular, and
Procedure.
a lot of
BC, number 59.
A lot of players on that BC sideline. There's Dane Randolph, who you talked about, left tackle. He was the right tackle last week in his CFL debut. Moved to the left side for Demaine Duckett this week.
And I'm not giving Dane Randolph some excuses, but to go from the right side to the left side in your first game is a huge adjustment. There is that. The footwork is completely different.
More pressure. Mike McCullough in pursuit, and the linebackers get to Jarius Jackson, McCullough, and Simpson.
Well, we might as well continue with the Jarrell Freeman pass rush clinic. And here he is. working on Dane Randolph, top of your line, and around he goes and around the corner. Just a speed rush that Dane Randolph, with that footwork issue, is just having real troubles getting outside and wide enough on those rush ends.
Third sack of the year for McCullough. Jackson throws, and G. Simon with the catch at midfield, about a yard short of the first down.
You know, and this is when people question in BC what's going on. Is Jarius Jackson the answer? Was Travis Lulay the answer? What happened to Casey Printers at the beginning? You know, Wally Buono throughout the last 6 weeks has said that he needs better play out of his quarterbacks. You know, I'm not sure if those quarterbacks have seen the help they need in the play calling from start to finish throughout this year. And I'm definitely sure they haven't got the protection they need up front. And that has just stood out like a sore thumb for this team in this game like none other this season.
Lulay in, short yardage, third and less than a yard. And Robertson will have the first down and more as he pounds to the Rough Rider 44 as they give the 3-minute warning here at Mosaic, with Saskatchewan riding high. Our game stories brought to you by Mr. Lube.
A couple of rushing touchdowns each for Wes Cates and Darian Durant. Those two down in the goal line area for Durant on one a called play and one a scramble. Really a dagger in the Lions defense. Jamal Robertson did get going in the first quarter, but they got behind in a big way.
First down, Jarius Jackson guns that, and it's dropped. O'Neal Wilson. Well, it's a 24-point lead now, but you think back to early in the game, they drive into the score zone twice in their opening 2 possessions and settle for field goals, and Saskatchewan at the same time goes 4 for 4 touchdown-wise when they got inside the Lion 20-yard line. Lots of turning points tonight. 2nd and 10. Paris Jackson the catch. Brought down immediately at the 40 by the veteran Omar Morgan, defensive captain. And it'll be 3rd down.
Meanwhile, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, a big game for them. Remember, this team started the season with 3 straight wins, and then the Riders had lost 2 of their last 3.
3rd and 5. More pressure from Freeman. This time Jackson spun off, but short arms the throw to Emmanuel Arsenault. It's another turnover on downs. Back-to-back turnover on downs for the Lions.
There he is, Jarrell Freeman. He's really had a free run. I think that was more exhaustion from Jarius Jackson than just a poor throw. He has been running for his life for most of the night, and it just ran out of gas on that play.
Ryan Dinwiddie hands it off, and Stu Ford is the tailback now, and the Stews echo through Mosaic as one of the hometown boys gets a chance.
Big weekend here in Saskatchewan. It was great to see Don Narcisse, Narco up here, Tracy Ham, Alfred Payton, Joe Pastilli in the builder category, and of course punter Bob Cameron.
Even a Winnipeg Blue Bobber can be honored here at Mosaic.
And I love when he was introduced and he did his move and his touchdown thing.
Our congratulations to the Rough Rider organization. It was well done tonight. Dante Marsh with the tackle on Briche Rodriguez.
The induction dinner going Saturday night.
There's Bob Cameron.
And it were very few of the fans in the sold-out Mosaic Stadium.
BC.
Tracy Ham, Joe Pastilli. Very few fans left to go in and get beverage or anything. Not tonight. It was a standing ovation for every one of the 4 inductees tonight from this crowd at Mosaic. Pretty special night.
There's the Don Narcisse fan club. All those folks wearing special T-shirts honoring number 80. Nice to see the families here too. I think in the case of Donald Narcisse, didn't really know how special number 80 was in this community. And they certainly found out tonight and will throughout the weekend.
Yeah, he talked about his mom Dorothy and how she gave him $40 to go to a free agent workout camp. 20 to get there and 20 to get back. And that $40 turned into a long and Hall of Fame career for Don Narcisse. His mom, of course.
Time count violation. Saskatchewan, number 11. 10-yard penalty remains third down.
His mom, Dorothy, as he mentioned in our interview, passed away just days ago. And his father passed away in 2003 when he was inducted into the Plaza of Honor here in Saskatchewan. His father, Paul. But lots of family here to support Don Narcisse.
Eddie Johnson's boot into the hands of Giannis Davis. And he'll bring it across the 40-yard line. 97 seconds remaining.
You know, I talked to Wally Buono about Travis Lulay yesterday and where he stands now in the whole order of things, and he said he still has high hopes for him in his career and believes even though he had a rough ride through 3 starts, that he's got tremendous potential. And you look at these quarterbacks, they've all had a rough ride.
Yeah, there is a theme here. 3 different quarterbacks unable to get things going, so maybe it runs deeper than that, as O'Neal Wilson lost it. Cornegay claiming he had a recovery, but there is a penalty down, and it is BC football.
Well, and there's skill out there. I mean, there's talent. And you see Giannis Davis is emerging. I mean, Printers, they say, will be back after the bye, after the break. But over this break, the BC Lions' #1 goal has got to be to shore up their protection issues. G. Roy Simon, Emmanuel Arsenal, Paris Jackson. There's talent in the skilled positions. And there's capable quarterbacks.
Another quiet night, though, for G. Roy Simon.
Illegal substitution. Saskatchewan, number 26. 10-yard penalty results in a first down.
And it does not get any easier.
Wow. Winning records across the board. The next 3 for the BC Lions. Now they can lick their wounds over this break and try and shuffle things around. Chance to maybe bring in some more players and look at some competition.
Jackson to Jackson, and a first down to the Saskatchewan 42-yard line. Still wonder about the arm strength. There was a lot of confidence in Jarius Jackson coming into this game. He showed a lot in the 11 minutes last week, but he has been punished tonight.
You know, we saw him trying to loosen it up at the break. He really didn't attempt to throw it deep tonight at all.
See if he does here. And throws that one away. Late flag. Said he wouldn't be able to go 80 yards, but 60 was certainly within his means.
I really think, it's been like this for the entire season.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Saskatchewan, number 1. 10-yard penalty results in a first down.
Omar Morgan called.
You know, these guys have been on the run. And just you add up the hits they've taken, these quarterbacks, you almost say it's just a courageous effort. I mean, look at that. I mean, hurried 13 times, sacked 5, and hit after throws 9.
Well, he's going to air it out here. Anybody home? James Patrick is, and he's got the interception.
Not sure he was touched.
And bringing it out. Got by Paris Jackson, but dropped at the 33-yard line. 3rd interception of the season for James Patrick, the safety.
Yeah, I don't think he was touched in the end zone. Emmanuel Arsenal trying to throw the corner route. Jarius Jackson just throws it up. Arsenault going one-on-one here. He just kind of goes through that zone, and it's picked up by the safety who's playing deep in Patrick, and not touched at all by Arsenault, so he runs it out of there, and that should do it.
Third consecutive drive that ends with a turnover, and 4 turnovers on the night for the BC Lions, so Dinwiddie will just work the clock down. Convincing win for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They're 5-2, 4-0 here in Saskatchewan. And as you said, what nicer going into the break with that under your belt than the problems that the BC Lions are going to have to deal with. Trying to work it inside 20 seconds so they can kill the clock with one more play.
And one more congratulations to all the inductees of the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Bob Cameron, Alfred Payton, Donald Narcisse, Tracy Ham, and Joe Castillo.
Roughriders were not going to lose on Donald Narcisse Day in Saskatchewan. It's in the books. 37-13. Ken Miller's team has won the season series against the BC Lions with another convincing win. It was 37-18 in week number 2. Tonight, 37-13. Wally Buono and the BC Lions now mired in a 6-game losing streak. Saskatchewan at 5-2 as we say so long from Mosaic Sports Center is now